Was it recording? All right. That was lagging. All right, Jake. This is episode one of the podcast. Just wanted to get you on, talk about your story. Wanted to give you a platform, just give anyone a platform to talk and just express themselves. Just get the better knowledge of knowing everybody and stuff like that, and communicate and talk. So if you want to just introduce yourself, name, age, whatever.
Yeah, I'm Jake Glantzman, otherwise known as Glantz. 23, from Jersey, good old Jersey.
That's actually funny. I didn't even know your first name because I know you through like Instagram in the gym, and I asked him, and I was like, wait, I'm going to put the title in. I don't even know the dude's first name. I'm like, I just know, because I just call you Glenn, so it's like I didn't even know that it was like, oh, Jake. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, most people don't know my first name.
That's like the modern day life of Instagram. It's like, oh, that's the guy. Because I literally call people that. It's like, oh, that girl over there. Oh yeah, or they just say her Instagram name. You don't even know her actual name. Like, that makes sense. But so just talk about what was like your We'll just start from the beginning, like your upbringing, pretty much like, you have brothers and sisters and shit like that. Like, were you raised brothers and sisters? Were your parents together and stuff like that your whole childhood, or?
Yeah. My parents are together. I was born and raised in Wall, New Jersey. I live in the same house that I had my whole life.
Oh, for real? You still live there in the same house?
Yep.
My whole life. Me too.
Yeah, my parents moved like 6 months before they had me. So my brother was raised in a different house for like 2 years. But
you just have one brother?
Nothing crazy. Yeah, just one older brother. He's an engineer, so he's out overseas right now. He'll come back in May, but he comes to and from. And
is he like an engineer, like in the military or something like that, or why is he like overseas?
Yeah, he's in the Navy Reserve. The company that he works for is a private company, but they're only contracted to the Navy, so he's like a Navy contractor.
Okay, that's it.
So yeah, that's why he's overseas, but he is also in the reserve. So I mean, he's done active duty stints where he's just Navy, but right now he's technically a civilian. But
okay, how much older is he?
He's out for a bit. He's 27, so he's like 3 and change, 3 years and a little bit.
I would say, how old are you?
23. He's 27, so I'll be 24 soon. So he's like 3.5-ish years older than me.
Okay. So you said you lived in the same house your whole life, and your parents were together when you guys raised. Are they still together now? Yep. Your parents?
Yep.
Okay, parents still together. Okay, yeah, that's pretty sick. Yeah. How long have they been together for?
Close. Oh man, actually, I think it was just their 30th anniversary recently.
Damn, that's pretty. That's so funny because like we talk about like modern dating and stuff like that. It's like it's so funny thing like back in the day, like because nowadays it's like. You see people, it's like, oh, like one little issue in a relationship. It's like, I'll just move on, ghost, cut to the next person. But it's so funny. I was saying that the other day. It's like back then it was like, it was just, you just made it work. Like, it was like, you could be mad at each other for a year. It's like, well, we're together for life. So it's like, if we have a rough year, we have a rough year. Hopefully next one's better.
I was just talking to Gio about that. Without mentioning names, like I've had like relationships or whatever where the person like, I'm not like I'm big on communication, but I'm not like the person that I don't need to text you all day 24/7.
Yeah, no, 100%, yeah.
But we were talking about it. I was like, X person like 24/7 texting me nonstop, whatever. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, it's like not that big of a deal. I don't really mind it, but like after a while, it's like, all right, we don't need to talk like every single day. And then other person is like, pretty much don't text. Like we pretty much don't talk, and then like we'll just randomly like a couple like BS here there, and then like we'll see each other in person, talk, whatever, hang out, talk, whatever. Yeah. And we were talking about it, and I was like, dude, my parents like have been together for 30 years. They didn't have phones when they were dating, and now that they do have phones, my mom and dad do not text throughout the day. Like if they need something, they'll give some. Whatever. Like, what are we doing for dinner? Whatever. That's it. Like, there's no small talk or like BS in between the day unless it's like something relevant comes up, which I don't mind, but it seems like nowadays is not like that's not how they do it. Everybody's just like 24/7, like, oh my god,
it's crazy.
How many miles an hour are you driving right now? Tell me everything.
Yeah, they know that shit. It's funny because someone's like, everyone's parents got like the Life 360 on their phones.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's crazy. I don't have none of that on my phone, but I know people that do have that. They're like, my mom was like, why were you out so late last night? It's like, damn, like just clocking you like that. She doesn't care, but she's just curious. I was like, that's pretty weird. Not weird, but it's like, okay, I mean, caring. I get.
My parents don't track me. They never tracked me. They were strict. Like growing up, we were real strict in my household, but it wasn't like to that extent. I know people that were
strict when you were a kid. Like, what was like strict? What, like you needed to get good grades, or strict like you were Like,
Oh
so
yeah.
that was like a standard that you guys were
Grades,
held to with your brother?
sports. Oh,
Oh, really?
absolutely. Yeah. Me and my brother both wrestled. I wrestled. He wrestled in college. I wrestled in college. I actually went to the same
Oh,
college as
so
him.
sick.
Like,
That's pretty cool. I
graduate.
didn't know that.
But yeah, so we wrestled since I was 4. He was like 7.
Jeez.
Um, yeah, and that was like I played other sport. I played soccer for a little while. I quit soccer in like 6th grade because I wanted to wrestle more.
Yeah.
But yeah, like grades, wrestling, like everything was like very, very much on par. I was allowed to like hang out with friends, but I
Yeah.
mean like when you're young, that doesn't really give you
Yeah.
that much time anyway.
Were you like, what you
Um,
like in school? Like, were you like, so if like, were you like into like drinking and stuff like that, or because you were wrestling, you didn't
no,
really didn't like do that kind of stuff anyway?
no, I
So
never
you
got
didn't
into any of that.
you didn't drink in high school or anything like that, or no?
Not really. I didn't when I would graduate 8th grade. I took a gap year
Okay.
because I was kind of small. I was always like I've always been like very very small for my
Yeah.
age. Like I was supposed to take GH like when I was a kid to help me
Holy
grow, but
God,
I didn't
really?
because it was too expensive.
Yeah.
So I always had like I was like super. I think my 8th grade year I wrestled like 80 pounds, and I wanted to wrestle 106 in high school, and I was just too small.
Yeah.
So I took a gap year in between 8th grade and my freshman year of high school, and I went to like some BS little private school. Didn't really even go to school. I pretty much just
Yeah.
like worked out, wrestled, and like went
That's
fishing with
pretty
my dad.
crazy. So yeah, so that was
Um,
so that your parents let you do that. So there was definitely wrestling was definitely a big part then.
yeah, they were all for it. But then I hit like a big growth spurt. I grew like 6 inches. I put on like 25, 30 pounds. So I ended up wrestling 113 my freshman year of high school. But like we got the job done.
Yeah.
I was trying to grow so I could wrestle. But yeah, I mean I made like a lot of sacrifices for wrestling.
Yeah, that's
So by
crazy.
that time, but then I'm not young. I was not young for my grade at the time. And
Yeah.
then I went
I
and
was about
held
to ask
back.
you that. So like when you took the gap year, like all your boys and everything went from eighth grade to ninth grade, and then when
Yeah.
you went to ninth grade a year later, like did you go to like the same high school as all your boys, or
Yeah, I
no?
went to the
Or
same
you were
high
just a
school.
grade behind everybody when you went
Right.
back?
Yeah.
How was that? Like, that bother you at all, or not really? Because you were still with like your wrestling boys and shit. Like, it didn't really bother you.
Yeah, I never like I had a friend group like when I was younger, and by the time I got to 8th grade, I wasn't friends with them anymore, and we had like
Okay.
this whole big falling out. So like most of at that time, most of my friends were like just strictly from wrestling, because like
Okay.
I've been going to like a club, like I was on a
Oh, so you had
national
like
team
clubs and stuff like
since
that.
I was like 5. So all these guys, I was friends with all those guys that were from
Yeah.
all different towns and everything. So it was kind of like I had wrestling friends. I didn't have like school friends at the time.
Okay.
I didn't really have school friends in high school either. I was still pretty
How
much
big
like
was your high school? Did
mostly.
you go to like a big school? Did you go to like a big high school or no?
No, well, it's not that big. I think it was like
Okay.
1,200.
Okay. Nothing too crazy.
It's like
Did you hang out with
normal.
like your older brother and his crew and stuff like that because like you guys both wrestled and stuff, or so it was kind
Yeah,
of like
sometimes
okay.
a little
So
bit. Yeah, I mean, like his close friends, I'm close with, but
okay, like growing up was like your older brother like your best friend type of dude or not, or like you guys weren't
no,
that
we
close?
used to beat the shit out of each other.
Oh,
That's
really?
a lie. He used to beat the shit out of me because he was like
Yeah.
he was like
He's a big guy.
160 in high school, and I was like 80 pounds.
Oh
So
my
I mean,
god, that's a big jump. Yeah.
we're
He's,
like we were friends, but like when
yeah.
my parents both work full time, so
Yeah.
we always had always had au pairs actually, which were normally like exchange students from other
Oh,
countries
okay.
that were
Oh,
like our
that's crazy.
nannies
I've never known
to
anyone had
take
that
care of
before.
us. But once we were old enough, my brother would take care of me on Saturdays and like
Okay.
Sundays if they were
Yeah.
busy. But we used to like Saturday was war day. Saturday was war
Really.
day. You wake up and it's just like,
It's chaos in the house.
oh yeah, yeah. We
When you
used to
said
be.
the au pair, how did the au pair thing come about? Like, how did you guys even figure that? Like, what type of deal was that?
I don't know. I think like one of my family friends, like my parents' family friends, had that going on, and I think there used to be like a website back in the day. So we had
Oh,
like a
okay.
couple, and it was normally like every like 2 years or something like that.
They would stay
But
with you
when I
for
was
2 years straight.
Yeah, just about. Some of them were a little bit more, some less. But my
Wow.
last one, I think I was 5. Her name's Mari. She's from Brazil. Um,
Wow.
I was 5, and she stayed, and she like went to college here, and she liked our family and wanted to stay, and our family wanted to keep her, so we
Yeah.
just kept her, and she still lives in New Jersey, and she's like my
Wow.
sister. She's not formally adopted
Yeah, but
because
I
she
said
was
that's yeah.
old, too
I mean,
old, but she's my sister.
yeah. I
So.
mean, she was right there with you when you were raised. So it's like that's pretty crazy. So how old is she now? Then if you were 5, she was like 10 years
She was
older than
like
you.
18, or she was either 17 or 18 when she came. I think she was 18 when she came, so she's like 13 years older than me. So she's
Oh, pretty crazy.
probably 30, mid 30s right now. Yeah, right around.
Okay.
I
And
saw
she's
her.
still
I saw her around Christmas. We see her still like she's got 2 kids of her own.
yeah
So I mean, like she's busy, but
yeah still lives in Jersey and everything.
yep, still lives in
That's
Jersey.
pretty
Yeah,
wild.
she's a flight attendant. Yep.
That's pretty cool. That's a job right there. So how
Yeah,
was it like when you said like your parents were married for 30 years? Do you think that like makes you look at relationships a different type of way because like you have that as a standard in your head, or not really? Like it doesn't. You don't think like
definitely.
you,
Yeah,
oh, it
yeah,
does like
for
hold an
sure.
impact on you? Okay, so that you
Yeah,
see like
100%.
that definitely
It's
makes
just
sense.
it's just different. I mean, it's also kind of like weird too because I feel like nowadays, like even adult relationships, like most of my friends that I grew up with, their parents are like not together anymore. They're
Oh yeah,
divorced or they
my
never
parents are
were
separated too.
together. So it was definitely like it's definitely odd in comparison. Like my family is very very close. Like we've been
Yeah,
together all the time. We ate dinner together almost every single night throughout like all the way up until like high school until like me and my
yeah,
brother were like driving and stuff. So
mhm.
we were like very very close. And I mean I think that's a blessing. But I mean
Yeah,
it's
oh, yeah,
also like it's also tough when you like are trying to grow up and be a kid because there's not like it's just a very different dynamic. Like there's it's almost like two extremes. Like you have the latch and key kids that like don't really have rules ever and they
mhm.
kind of just do whatever they want to do, and then you have the kids that are like locked, and then
Yeah,
it's like too far extremes, but they end up realistically like from a psychological standpoint they end up having the same effect
yeah,
because
exactly.
two sides of the spectrum meets the same spot. But like that
Yeah.
balance in the middle, I think my parents did like a pretty good job of balancing it. But it's
When you
just like
look
how
back,
I was.
when you look back, and you say like you guys had the family dinner and stuff like that. When you were in high school, like now you see it as like a blessing, like that it kept you guys close. But when you were in high school, did you see that like, or like you could see it in hindsight that it was cool, like your parents kept you guys close, and but in high school, like were you like, fuck, I don't want to go home, I want to show my boys, like I don't feel like eating
Yeah.
dinner. So,
Oh
okay, so
yeah,
that's okay.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Because
wasn't
then they
like
used to be really strict with it. Like now, obviously, I'm older, so I kind of just
now
like
you want it because like you want to be
whatever.
around your parents, they love you. But when you were a
Right.
kid, you probably wanted to be out.
Yeah. No. When I was in high school, or like I was at like my friend's house, and be like, oh well, you have to come home for dinner, but like you can go hang out after. I'd be like, oh my god, like why do I have to go home? Like just let me eat at whatever's house, whatever.
Yeah,
But I mean, I try to stay like as much as I can and eat dinner with my family still like
yeah,
when I'm older. But I mean, there's like they're not making me do it anymore.
yeah.
Like
It's
if
funny
I'm
when
like,
we,
hey, I'm going to the gym doing whatever, they're just like, okay, yeah, do you want us to
yeah.
like make you a plate? Like we'll save it for you, whatever. But I try to like stay at least maybe like twice, three times a week. Have like two or three meals with them a week at least.
That brings up another question I like to add. Like, I'm always curious on like people like that. It's like, is there any like family tradition? Like, because when I was a kid, like we had like say like Christmas, your family tradition is whatever. It's always funny to think like what other people's traditions are. Did you guys have any like family traditions that like now that you're an adult, like your parents made you guys do it? Not made you, but it was something you guys did as a kid. Now you're an adult, like you look forward to doing that every year because it is a tradition. Do you have anything that comes to mind like that? It
Yeah,
could be
we
lots
did.
of other houses, but
We do Christmas. So my dad is Jewish. He's like not practicing, but he was raised Jewish, and my
mhm.
mom's Catholic. And me and my brother are Catholic.
Okay,
So we always did like Christmas and Hanukkah, like with his
okay,
side of the family.
well, that's pretty
So that
cool.
was always fun. And then we kind of like played the whole Jewish thing too. So for Christmas night, every year, me and my family go out and get like Chinese food, or we go to like sushi,
Okay,
and which is also funny because when I was a kid, that was literally the only places open on Christmas night.
oh
You
yeah,
couldn't go
back
anywhere
then,
like
yeah,
only Chinese
yeah,
or Japanese. And now we still do it every year. But
yeah.
now we go to this place in Brick. We've been going there for the last couple of years. Everybody's there. Like everyone and their mom is there.
Yeah,
It's a new
yeah,
thing that like everybody's just like, oh, we'll do like Christmas Eve before, we'll do Christmas
yeah,
before, and then Christmas we'll just spend with the direct family. But when I was a kid,
yeah,
it was you would only have like Asian families there and then like some Jewish families there. And that
yeah,
was
exactly,
it.
yeah.
Now it's everybody.
That is it is funny how like traditions change like that because even like it's another funny one like that is like Black Friday because I remember like being a kid and like you would be like on Thanksgiving it'd be like you'd drive by the stores like people be lined up down the street and stuff like that like at
Oh yeah.
Macy's now it's like it's Black Friday
Nobody
month like
cares.
online shopping you don't have to wait for anything. It's so funny how like back in the day like that was like a I remember it was like a big thing my mom and dad said like when like I think like they used to like start Black Friday at like midnight or something like that. And I remember like they made it like they started it like Thanksgiving night or something like that. And my grandparents were like upset because they're like, it's supposed to be a holiday. Like this shouldn't be like Black Friday shouldn't be taking over Thanksgiving. Like they should be separate. And it was like I guess because it was like
We
taking
never
away from
did
the
Black
holiday.
Friday. Ever.
What?
We never did
You never
Black
went
Friday.
out? You were not someone that went out and did it?
Mm-mm.
Never.
No.
Me either. Never.
No, my parents
I
were
only
like,
remember one time I never went out, but like my friend, his girlfriend worked at Target, and like they had to
oh
start
god,
like Thanksgiving night at like 2 in the morning, and like we went to drop her off at work, and it was like the line was already like the whole parking lot. It was like, oh my god, people, it's like it's insane. It's like, how much you
that's
guys
so
really saving?
wild. That's
It is
wild.
crazy thing. It's like I've never, but I guess it's like if you like, I guess if you're like once a year, like I'm not buying nothing all year because I know Black Friday's gonna come and I'm getting it all then.
I
But
guess, yeah.
I've never done that, so it's like that's not something I've ever done.
No, neither have I. We didn't. We did a lot of stuff like within our household. We didn't really do like too much crazy stuff. We were busy. I was always busy. I
Yeah.
wrestled like almost 7 days a week.
Oh my
I
god.
was just
What what,
I was
what what
grinding.
did you go to a certain college for wrestling, or did you like could get into any
Both.
college? Like
It was a
what?
little bit of both. I went to the United States Merchant Marine Academy for just
Okay.
a year. So it's one of the five service academies: Navy, Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, Merchant Marine. My brother went there. He graduated from there. So I went there. I since I was like probably five, I always wanted to be in the military, and I wanted to go to a service academy
Mhm.
specifically for college. So pretty much like everything I did like a lot of volunteer work. I went to the Naval Academy every year, uh,
Really?
Navy SEAL wrestling camp. So it was like SEALs
Wow.
running a wrestling camp. So you just like wake up, get destroyed,
Yeah.
do like, a ton of workouts, then go wrestle, then go eat, then go wrestle, then go eat, then do another workout, and then you have rec time, which was always like the pool time. And then we would just play sharks and minnows with like the SEALs that were running it, and they would have flippers, and we would not have flippers, and we basically just get drowned for like an hour.
That's crazy.
So it was really fun. And
Yeah.
then it got crazy. Like when I got older, when I got to high school, it got crazy because a bunch of parents complained. And then it got pretty soft.
Yeah.
But it was still fun.
Where was this at? This
It
was
was
in
cool.
Jersey too?
No, that was at the Naval Academy in Maryland. So it was
Oh, it's
like
in Maryland. Okay,
the
okay.
the Naval Academy's wrestling team kind of like put that on. It was kind of like a hybrid. It was just like real. It was just a lot of wrestling. It was like 4 hours wrestling a day, and probably like 3 or 4 hours of like whatever training that the SEALs wanted us to do. So like calisthenics, running, stuff like that. So I was always like that was my stuff. That was what I loved to
That was
do.
like in the summer and stuff like that. You would do kind of stuff like that. That was summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that
Every
something
year.
your brother started before you, or like so you were into that? Like he did that too, coming up,
He
or no?
went
You guys
one
did it
year
together.
before I did because I was
Okay.
too young to go. But then as soon as I was old enough to go, we went like a bunch of times together. So
Okay.
we were all about it. We did tons of wrestling camps and like it was just like wrestling in school and that was that. And then once I got
Is
to
that
high
something like your
school, it
Was that
was
something like your
different.
parents pushed on you, like the school stuff, or that was like you were like that's what you wanted to do, like you wanted to like strive for like better grades and like get good at wrestling, or not, or school was kind of like an afterthought, like you just knew you had to get decent grade. Like, were you actually passionate about learning and shit, or not really?
I don't really like school and I'm not really
Yeah,
passionate about learning, but I knew like when I was pretty young, I knew like I was like, hey, I want to go to a service academy. And I was like 6, and my
yeah,
parents were like, all right, well, only smart kids go there, so figure it out.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. So like I didn't really like school. I didn't really like love school. It was kind of just like indifferent. But I knew
That's
that I needed to get really good grades and do well to get where I wanted to be. So I kind of
yeah,
just like it was just like I just accepted that's what I had to
yeah.
do. So I just did it. So I mean, I studied a lot. I did a lot. I was in the National Honor Society. I was taking like honors and AP classes. I had a high GPA, all that good stuff. So I grinded in high school. I didn't. That's like partially why I didn't really like go out and drink a lot. I was always training,
Yeah.
and even in like the off season, like when I was wrestling, I wrestled in the off season too. I was part of like my club's national team every year. So like we're still competing in the spring and
Yeah,
like the off season. So I didn't really like party that much.
yeah.
And I was older than everybody, so I was driving. Like I was
Oh yeah,
driving.
yeah. You were a year older. Yeah, yeah.
So I was always DD. I really didn't drink much in high school like at all until like my senior year of high school was COVID.
Oh my god,
So
that's horrible.
it
So
was like
that's crazy.
no,
You
it was
went through
actually
that.
pretty dope. It was actually pretty
I
great.
guess yeah. If you, yeah, good for you. You didn't do anything.
It was
Stay home,
it was pretty
study.
awesome. I totally didn't care about like graduation. I didn't care about prom. I didn't care about any of
Yeah.
that crap. So I mean,
How
like
did
our
they run that
AP
for you?
tests
How
were
did they
like
run that?
pretty
How did they
bad.
run that for you guys? Like, did they have? Did they try to like? There was nothing. It was like you guys just aren't having prom, or like did they like try to have
No,
some type of accommodation for it? It was like nothing at all.
I think they might have done prom in like August or something like that, but I don't
Okay,
even
yeah,
remember
that's what
because
I
I
thought.
didn't
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Graduation, they just like set up a balloon arch in front of the school, and you just like drive by and pick up kids. So, and mom
Did you
take
have a
pictures
cap and
from the
gown
car.
picture? You got
Yeah,
to.
in my front yard.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Yeah, in my front yard. I didn't give a shit. My parents
Yeah,
cared. I really didn't care. But
yeah.
we had our senior class trip was to Disney. Um, And I didn't go because like two of my best friends weren't going to go, and it was like $1,000. So I was like,
Yeah.
screw that, I'm not going to go. And my brother was supposed to wrestle. He was a senior in college. He was supposed to wrestle at nationals that same weekend. So my parents flew out to Iowa to go see him wrestle. I had the house to myself, and they're like, "Oh, if you don't go on the trip, you have to come to school for these 3 days." It was like, parents aren't home. Other guys are. I'm not going.
Yeah.
So I skipped 3 days of school, and then it ended up that COVID happened that week, and I never went back to high school another day.
Oh my God, that's crazy. That was your last. That's wild. That was like your last day.
I skipped the last 3 days of high school forever.
That's pretty crazy.
That's really the only time I drank in high school was during COVID, because my brother came home from college, and all of him and his friends were like 21, 22, whatever, and we would kind of like had the same group of like 20 people. Some of my friends, some of his friends that would just come over, and I have like a pretty big backyard, so like we built out like a big like beer dive and beer pong table, and like custom painted it with like a bunch of different stuff from like 2020. So it was like Rick and Morty's on there, COVID's on there, like a bunch of like different stuff, and we would just like everybody would come over like all the time, and we'd like play drinking games in my backyard and just kind of like chill for like 4 months until I went to Merchant Marine.
And so you went, so you graduated that year, then you went to college. How early on did you know you were accepted to that college? Like the whole senior year you knew, or like not like it wasn't like how
It was
how
most of the senior year. It was like my junior year. So like you could commit like anytime you want, because it's just like you saying that you're going. It's not really a real contract. So I kind of like I was getting recruited there and Coast Guard, which they're rivals.
Okay.
And I was kind of like torn in between the two. So I kind of like knew I had like a pretty solid feeling that I was going to get into both by the end of like my junior summer. I like knew I was gonna get both, but you didn't like have anything until they really send you the letter, because it's the government. It's a government school. It's all paid for by the government. So it's kind of like it's a little bit more hardcore. So I was kind of just waiting, and the way I was like, oh, I can't choose between two. Whoever sends me an acceptance letter first, I'm gonna take. So Merchant Marine sent me the letter, and I was like, boom, perfect, we're going. Signed everything, committed, whatever, I'm good. And then like a week later, Coast Guard emailed me, and they were like, we'd love to have you. And I was like, oh, too late. Which I probably should have went to Coast Guard, because I probably would have liked Coast Guard better. But whatever. But yeah, so I mean, by November of my senior year, I was good to go, and I had taken this like antibiotic. I was sick, and I didn't know like what was happening. I had these like crazy pains in like my thigh and like my groin area. I went to like a bunch of doctors, got blood tests, urine tests, like everything. Couldn't tell what it was, so I took this antibiotic, and it turned out that I had like one of the negative reactions to it. I'm not like technically allergic, but whatever.
Yeah.
So I just like spontaneously tore a bunch of like muscles and stuff in my quad, my hip, and my glute. So like the back head of my rectus femoris that attaches inside is completely not attached anymore.
Oh my God.
Which you don't necessarily need. But if it was in the front, it would have balled up. But you can't see it because it's inside. But so I was like, we kept that like off the books, because I was like, I'm going to military school. Like I got passed by medical. I can't do this. Like they're not going to accept me. So we just like kept it hush.
Did they ever find out what the cause of what all the issues, like what the problem?
Yeah, it was just it's because of that medicine. Like that's a common reaction. One of the common reactions, like if you have a bad reaction to it, is like people will just like wake up in the morning and their Achilles will just be torn off. So it's just like poisons. It just poisons you. Yeah, it was like it was pretty brutal. Yeah. But I got real sick like along with that too. So I was in like real bad shape. But I didn't wrestle my senior year. And I just like called the coach at Merchant Marine, and I was like, I'm not wrestling, like I'm not in good shape. Nothing's on the record. Like I'll see you in the summer. Like I'll be there in the summer, we'll figure it out. So that kind of like sucked, but that's like that. So I didn't even have wrestling to do at the time. And then COVID came anyway. So I kind of just like hung out, and that's like really the only time I drank during high school. And then when I went to college, it was the military. So we weren't doing much.
Yeah. So like, how many people? Like, how big of a college is that college?
Is really it small?
Oh, it's small. Okay. Is it just for just wrestling? Like it's like mostly known for that. Like most people that want to go there because they want to wrestle, or not really?
No, it's not really that good. It was a D3 because it's real small. It was a decent program, but I mean, we got like a lot of wrestlers my year. But they were like okay. But it's a very, very, very highly rated school. for just like academics, and it's all
Okay, like
engineering
academic.
there,
Okay.
so it's like really it's legit. Um, and I went there. I didn't really want to do like what my brother does. Like my brother sails private. Like I didn't want to sail or do anything like that. I just wanted to be in the military.
Yeah.
And I got there and I really hated engineering. I really didn't like it. I didn't think
Mhm.
I would like it. I was in an engineering academy in high school. Like I did engineering in high school too. I loved it. And then when I got to college, I hated it. So I was really not about it. And there was no other majors, so I couldn't like switch
Oh,
my
really?
major.
That was it?
It was just that.
Oh
So it was
my
like
god.
I can't study anything
Yeah.
else. And then that
That's crazy.
injury ended up coming back. Came back, and I kind of like I got like medically disqualified and everything, and I was
Yeah.
just kind of like, all right. So they sent me home for 6 months and reclassed me again, and then I came home, and that's when I started. That's actually when I started lifting,
Okay.
and I didn't even want to be a bodybuilder. Like I didn't want to
Yeah.
bodybuilder, I didn't really give a shit. I just knew like bodybuilders were like big and strong. Like I knew
Yeah.
Ronnie Coleman was big and
Yeah.
strong. So I like went home. I was like super depressed. I was like, "Fuck, I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life,
This was
whatever."
what? This was still freshman year of college, or this was?
Yeah, that was right at the tail end of the freshman year.
Okay.
Almost made it through the freshman year. Didn't make it through. Got
Okay.
sent like 2 weeks before the end of the year, and I was just kind of like I was sitting in bed. I remember this. I was sitting in bed drunk one night. I like was drinking with like some of my hometown
Yeah.
friends. I had just come home, and I was like, "Oh, dude, like I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like I gotta get back in shape. Like my hips all like destroyed,
Yeah.
whatever." Ronnie Coleman's like big, strong bodybuilder. I'm gonna do Ronnie Coleman workouts. I'm gonna get jacked, and then I'm gonna go
That easy.
back and wrestle. And
Yeah.
then I'll be a big, strong. I'll be big and strong for my weight class. I'll do good at
Mhm.
wrestling, whatever. And that night, I deleted my personal Instagram. I deleted like all my personal social media and just made like
Yeah.
Glantzman. And I was just like, I didn't like, I was not in touch with like bodybuilding. I was not in touch with like the fitness industry or anything like that.
Yeah.
I didn't make like any of these accounts. It was like, oh, I'm going to go viral and like get followers.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just deleting everything. I'm going to get strong for wrestling and I'm going to post it on Instagram to like like keep myself in line and be able
Yeah.
to.
Exactly. Keep yourself
That was
accountable a
all
little
it
bit.
was. And I woke up the next morning and I looked at my phone and my personal Instagram was gone. My personal Snapchat was gone. Like all my social media with all my friends was gone. And I woke up the next morning and I was like, oh my God, dude, like I guess I'm just doing this.
Yeah.
I guess this is what it is. And I started like lifting and I literally Googled like Ronnie Coleman workouts, like bodybuilding workouts. So
That's
I just
always the
wanted
beginning
like
service.
yeah, I just wanted to get big. Like I didn't
Yeah.
care about any of that. I was just like, I need to get big and strong for wrestling, and that's that. And I just started doing it, and then I ended up like falling in love with it. So I
Mhm.
went back to Merchant Marine 6 months later, and I was like, I'll do my due diligence. I'll give it another shot, like see what's going on. And a lot of logistical stuff, like it's just BS military stuff, did not
Mhm.
work out, and it just really wasn't worth it. I didn't want to be there either, so I
Yeah.
left.
Oh,
And
just
then
miserable.
I was super into lifting by that time. I was like training a lot.
Mhm.
So the rumor around the school is Glantzman's dropping out of school to go be a bodybuilder. Like that's not the case, but like that sounds
Not
cool. So
quite.
keep
Yeah.
that, yeah. So I just left and I resigned, and like my parents were like not really happy, but I had a plan, so I did
Mhm.
that. And then 2 weeks later, as soon as I got home, I was a cop.
Oh, you
That
were
was
really?
yeah, which I am not a cop anymore,
Yeah.
but I was a cop.
Okay.
So
So right. So
that
right
was
when you so you left, that was just your sophomore year. You dropped out, and then you went to what, like the police academy or something like that, or you went right into police?
yeah,
Okay. And
yeah.
then
I
what did
went
you
to
go
the
to police
police
academy? Like
academy.
near where you live?
Yeah, I went in Seagirt. So I was like, yeah, I was a beach cop for a year.
Oh, that's
And
pretty
then
sick.
I went to the the full time police academy. That was, I think it's like 2 years now, 2 years ago now. I went to the full time police academy, and then I was on the road for like 11 and a half months, just shy.
Okay.
Technically, I was on the road for like 14 months, but I wasn't
Okay.
working for like 3 of
Is that
those.
something
So
you
it
wanted to
was,
do as a child, like as a kid? Like, is that something you would like had any aspiration to do, or that was just
uh,
something like you transitioned military to police, kind of like
yeah, it was like,
that step type deal?
it was like a little bit, I guess. I was like, I had a lot of friends that like their parents were like troopers or like cops and stuff. And
Okay.
I always thought it would be cool. And I was always kind of like, oh yeah, maybe I'll do that after the military. I wouldn't say like I had a passion for it. I was always like, oh, like I'm gonna grow up and be a cop.
Yeah.
But I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it's a good idea. And
Yeah.
then I kind of just like left, and I was like, it's a good idea, so like I'll just do it. And it like it, yeah. I mean,
Did you
it was a
like it
good
when you were
idea.
there? Like, was the experience something what you thought it was going to be, or not really?
Um, well, I mean, like without getting like too political, like this is New Jersey,
Yeah, oh
so
yeah,
that plays a pretty big role. I really like the people. Like I couldn't talk like any more highly of like the guys that I
yeah.
worked with in my department. Like I love those guys to death.
Mhm.
They were awesome, but like the job itself, not really. Like it's really not that fun.
It's so much like what's it like? So much red tape. It's so much like
Oh,
bureaucratic
dude,
shit. It's like everything. Like one little thing. It's like a whole day of
it's absurd.
paperwork for like something spitting out the gum, or like you do something stupid.
It's
It's like,
so
oh my
stupid.
god.
It's so
Yeah,
much paperwork, and I was in like a pretty small, like quiet beach town, and like
yeah,
we had our stuff, like we had our fun, like every now and then, not like other places, but
yeah,
I started there, and I was like, dude, there's no way I'm going to a city. There's no way I'm going to one of these places. Like
yeah,
the workload, like I'm not doing that. Like you're just
yeah,
going 24/7, and all the problems and everything. So I was like, definitely gonna stay. If I stay here, I'm gonna stay in a small town and kind
yeah.
of just like chill. But like I talk to people about it all the time. Like people ask me about it all the time, and they're like, "Oh, wouldn't that be like fun? You know, like stolen car, whatever." And I'm like, "Yeah,
Oh
it's
no,
cool for like
no, no.
30 seconds. It's really
Yeah,
cool for 30 seconds when you're in a foot pursuit and like you catch the guy and you're like, oh, dude,
yeah,
nice." And then like your next 3.5 hours is listening to this guy scream his face off and like
yeah.
writing paperwork, and it's just like, and
Every,
then it's New Jersey, so you're probably like, "Oh, I just did all this work, wrote all this paperwork, and it's probably just gonna get thrown in the trash in court
yeah,
anyway.
exactly.
What am I even doing?"
Exactly.
Yeah,
And the
which
thing too is
wasn't
that people don't understand. Like, it's funny because I know a lot of people like they always say like, "Oh, I know a state trooper. They make 150 grand." It's like, yeah, they make 150 grand, but what you guys don't realize is like some of them are working like 18 hours a day. It's like they're not making 180 grand working 6 hours. It's like, yeah,
yeah.
but they work 12 hour
They're
shifts, and then
grinding.
they get a call at the last 11 hours and 30 minutes. They get a call, and then they're doing paperwork for 4 hours after that. So now they just
Yeah,
work 17 hours that day,
yeah.
and then they have to be back in 12 hours. So it's like
I've done that.
that's why they're making so
That's
much money because
brutal.
they're working a lot of hours. It's like it's not they're not just like getting paid $200 an hour. It's like they're working for
No.
that money. But people don't
Yeah,
hear
I
that. They
made
think, oh,
$17 an hour.
yeah, it's insanity.
I
And
made
what's crazy is like that's like
$17 an hour and time and a half for overtime.
it's like but it's so weird how like the spectrum changes because I think Jersey because I live in PA and our state minimum wage is like $7.25 and I heard they just Jersey raised theirs to like 15.80. I'm like that's crazy because then it's like you get a job like that, it's like a cop's making $70 an hour. Like you got to do school and like you're putting your life on the line and you have responsibility. You're keeping people safe, and it's like a sign
Yeah,
of
oh
like
yeah.
safety when people see you. It's like
McDonald's managers made more than I did by like a long shot. They're making like
literally,
24 bucks an hour. I'm making 17.
yeah, so
Yeah.
crazy. And it's funny because
Which
like I go to a lot of places that I deliver like industrial buildings and stuff like that, and people always are like, "Oh, we're looking for a guide." I'm like, "How much you guys paying?" He's like, "Oh, 17." I'm like, "Brother, man, it's like you can go pick orders at Walmart for $20 an hour." It's like, why would I want to come work on machines in a hot
yeah,
ass warehouse for $16 when I can go hang out at Walmart for $20?
yeah, literally, it's
And they
it's
don't get
like
that. It's
it's
like,
pretty wild. And the hours, like as a cop, for me specifically, like our department is small, but we were still short staffed. We probably need like another two guys to really like make the schedule work.
mm,
So the last 2 weeks that I worked, were like I think one was like 84 hours and one was like 74, 76, something like that. So I mean,
it's
like
crazy.
I was just on the road
Yeah,
so
exactly.
much,
And
man, just so much.
it's like
It
then it
was
like gets then
brutal.
it's like that's that was a question for you. Like that's like a thing. Like what like how high on your life like importance is like making money? Like is it something like you like is that like a like it's not a driving factor?
Not at all.
Not so you're not so you wouldn't consider yourself like a materialistic person?
Not really. I mean, like I like cool things. Everybody
Yeah,
likes cool things, but like
yeah,
realistically, if I can like wake up in a comfortable bed in like a house, I don't really care what my house looks like as
yeah,
long as it's big enough for what I need to do, and go to a job that I enjoy and go lift. Like I'm
yeah,
fine, dude. I don't need a fancy car. Like I don't need
yeah,
fancy stuff. I mean, if I can afford stuff, like
yeah, yeah.
I
You are, yeah,
really like shoes, as you can
yeah,
tell. But I mean, I resold all of high school, so these shoes cost me $0
yeah,
or profit money and like trading and stuff. But like,
exactly.
I don't need like super fancy stuff, so I wasn't really worried about the money.
Yeah,
But I can make a lot more money doing a lot more things with a lot
oh yeah,
less time. So like,
yeah, yeah,
it just wasn't. It wasn't really like I didn't really have like the passion for it per se. And I mean, like I had some personal stuff going on, and I took care of that. And I was kind of just like, this is just. I don't think this is the right way for me to go
yeah.
to continue to go. So I resigned in August, and I'm back in school now.
Okay, that's sick.
So
What college you go to now?
I go to Brookdale, which is my community college for my county, and then
Okay.
so after this summer, I'm transferring to Rutgers.
Are you sure you're just going to commute there because you live close enough?
I do all the classes. I can do all the classes on my community college campus. They
Oh
have like
shit!
a partnership, so I don't even
Wow,
have to go
that's
to
fucking
Rutgers.
sick.
It's like 25 minutes from me, so I don't have to. New Brunswick, like Rutgers, is probably 45, 50 minutes from me,
Yeah,
and like my community college is like 25. So I just go to my community college for all the classes, which
that
is
is
sweet.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's
What are you
awesome.
going for? What are you going to college for? What do you want to get a degree in now?
Social work and counseling.
Okay. I
So
was
I
just
want to
saying,
do like
what so
psychology and
exact, so
counseling.
like that's something you're passionate in?
Yeah, I mean, I've had like I've struggled with mental health since as long as I can remember.
Mhm.
And I mean, like I've been in the military. It was military school, but I was in the military. I see
Yeah,
like how that works. I see how it works in the first responders and like law enforcement. And well, the way it works is it doesn't work actually.
yeah, exactly.
It really doesn't.
Yeah,
And the like what I was able to get out of it and like everything is that's kind of like what I want to do. And I was always interested. Like I took psychology. Like I took honors in AP psychology in high school, and I was always interested in it. But like
yeah,
when I went to college, it just wasn't an option, so I didn't really
yeah.
care. But now I have an option, so that's what I want to do. And I want to specifically work with first responders and veterans
Okay.
because I feel like those are kind of like my people
Yeah.
a little bit more than like the average. But yeah, that's the whole goal. So I dropped that. I left the police to do that. So I got a couple more years of school, and then I'll be out there doing that. So
Yeah, would you so if someone asked you like what is your purpose in life, you think like that was what you would consider you think is like to like help like people in that line of
yeah,
work? Like, okay,
yeah, I
like
think so.
like
I
you
think
better
so.
understand like just like when you say like mental health like with that like you're just saying like directly with that job line. It's like because a lot comes with that. Obviously, they see a lot of trauma and a lot of heartache and stuff like that, and are they're there when people are losing lives and stuff like that, and they have to be able to like see families and stuff like that. Because I know people that like were nurses and stuff, and it's like you're there when someone's loved ones are dying. It's that's a big weighs
Yeah,
on you a lot. So it's like definitely in them fields and stuff like that. So that would be something that you'd want to be like be that person for them type of people.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, I think it's. Well, I know it's desperately needed because I've been
Mhm.
there before. But yeah, I think it's kind of hard. And I mean, like I've went through it. Like I've went to therapy. I've went to inpatient therapy. I was in Arizona for a month doing
Okay.
inpatient therapy, like specifically for mental health. Not I don't have any addictions, but I know a lot of veterans, a lot of
Yeah.
first responders do, and that often does go hand in hand with mental health. So I know a lot of people. I've worked with a lot of people. I've been in programs with a lot of people, and I think it's just like a very sorely needed topic
Yeah.
within those communities. And I've been within those communities, and those are kind of like you said, I feel like those are kind of my people. But it's also a lot easier, and I saw it myself too. Like when I went out to Arizona, the only reason I was able to stay there and like really do what I needed to do is because I was in a program with first responders and veterans, and those were the people that were surrounding me all day, and those were the people that I was friends with, and I did group with, and I talked to, and those were like my friends for that month. I don't think, and like, there's no hate on anybody that's not a first responder or veteran, but
Mhm.
we just it seemed like we all were very similar. We had a lot of things in common. We thought the same. We had a lot of very similar views on a lot of stuff. So it was much easier to get along with them. Like
Yeah.
when I went out there, like I was friends with the guys in my group within like 48 hours, and it's just like I met a lot of other great people there too that were not in our program because
Mhm.
we're all on the same kind of like campus.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's a different connection, and I think
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
like
You have that common
really
ground.
translates when you're talking about therapy. Like when you have a cop or a veteran that's like going to therapy and trying to get help, it's a lot easier for a male cop or a male veteran to talk to a male psychologist that has law enforcement or military or
Oh, for
both
sure.
experience. And those just really don't exist. Those are really
Yeah.
few and far between.
I would actually, I can imagine like because it's like, well, how do they, yeah, they have when they have they I don't they have like a no doesn't translate.
Yeah, it's very, very uncommon that you're going to
Yeah.
have uh, male, even female psychologist that has any sort of like first responder or veteran training,
Mhm.
because most of them, like a lot of people that are in the field of psychology, like most other fields, are
Yeah.
there after college. They didn't
Yeah.
go to the
Exactly. Yeah.
military first. They
Exactly.
weren't cops first. A lot of cops are just cops, and if there
Yeah.
are cops right now, they probably did something before that, not after it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
it's kind of like a rare combination, but I think it'll be pretty cool. So I'm super into it, and now I actually like school. Like going back to our
Yeah,
earlier conversation,
definitely.
now I'm into school. I really like it. I think the classes are super interesting. And yeah, I mean, like I'm very interested in it, and I have a lot of conversation. It's so applicable to life, dude. It's like
Yeah.
crazy how much of this stuff like just plays in everyday life. Like it's
Oh, it's insane.
psychology. It's
Yeah,
psychology.
I
So if
love
you understand
psychology.
psychology, it's you.
Yeah.
It's just how everybody works. So it's helped me like with my own personal struggles like tremendously.
I
Like
would say like what is like one of like the biggest like takeaways from your experience in Arizona? Like what were some things like frameworks that you learned that like really were like light bulbs in your head? Like, okay, wow, that actually makes a lot of sense. That's really gonna help me in the future. Was there any
honestly,
type of
it's just
frameworks they put in there?
it's a lot of like small it's a really a lot of small things. It's not I'm not a big believer in medication whatsoever.
Yeah.
I definitely
I
think that
mean,
there are
I don't even think I
certain
have
people that need it.
help. What'd you say?
There's definitely people that need it. Like there's for sure people
Oh
that
yeah.
need it, and I've met some of the people that like they might just be a little too affected. And there are obviously like psychological conditions, like
Yeah, like
true
medical.
antisocial
Yeah.
personality disorder. Real APSD is like we're talking like serial killers, like Ted
Yeah,
Bundy.
yeah, oh yeah. Like they have chemical imbalances, like they it's
You
like
need meds
wired
for
differently.
that, yeah. But generally, like depression, anxiety, PTSD, OCD, OCPD, like stuff like that, that's a little bit more common. And like, yeah, it can definitely be extreme. Like people have very
Mhm.
extreme depression, and they might need meds. But I think the general amount of people that have a lot of these mood disorders or like personality issues
Mhm.
can be remedied without medication.
Yeah.
And that the place that I went in Arizona was like operated on that as well. So I didn't get prescribed meds. I don't think I need meds, anything like that. So that was like a big stigma, right? It's like so many people think, "Oh, you have depression." Oh,
Mhm.
dude, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
and it's almost been like become like cool recently and be like, "Oh, I'm so depressed. I'm so sad. Whatever."
Oh yeah, for
That's
sure.
like
Yeah.
BS. That's bullshit. Like nobody,
Yeah.
none of those people are really depressed.
Yeah.
And
No,
if
yeah,
they are, they're like
it's
reaching
different.
for
Yeah.
cookies. It's just a
Yeah.
different. It's a getting over the initial kind of like like all right, this is like I'm working with XYZ, whatever it was a big thing, and that's like it's just like admitting that you need help. Like
Yeah.
okay, I can't do this myself. I need something. But other than that, it's not like that. I think that's the biggest chunk. It's
Yeah.
just like okay, like here it is. So I mean, like I came to the point, and it was like offered, and I like it was offered to me. It was not required. They were like, we have a place that you could go
Yeah.
if you want to go, and I was just like yeah, I'm going. Like, let's do it. I don't want to like keep living like this. So like, let's do
Yeah.
it. I think that was the biggest part. But little stuff, man. I was just like honestly understanding stuff more and literally
Yeah.
just learning about it. Like
Yeah. I would say that's
just
why
learning
psychology is
about
a big thing too. Like
general
with that,
stuff.
it's like, what'd you say? My fault.
Just learning about general stuff. Like once you just like recognize it, you can think about it a little bit more. And also, I mean, I shouldn't say that as simple as it is. I went there very determined to help myself and very
Yeah.
determined to change. And I fully 150% wanted to be there.
Yeah.
That's what really matters. Because
Yeah.
I could teach you right now about here's 4 different types of attachment, right?
Yeah.
I could tell you textbook what it is,
Yeah.
fact. But like, are you really going to learn? Are you really going to think
Exactly.
about
Yeah.
it? Are you
So
really
you
going to
want
put
to,
it into
yeah.
practice? So it's kind of like it's really really helpful, but they're only helping you. They're not doing it for you. You have to
Yeah.
do it for
Exactly.
you. So I think that was like a big thing, and I've always been kind of like a you do it for you kind of person. So I
Mhm.
really just like went hard and was just learning about that kind of stuff. Like I know like what 4 different types of attachment styles are. I know how like attachment works. I know how like relationships work better, whether it's friends, family, or romantic.
Yeah.
They all follow like these casts. I know like a lot of like a lot more about like biologically and chemically like how my brain works and how like somebody that has depression it might be differently from someone else. So I just have like a much better working understanding of like what I do. And there was a lot of self reflection. There's a lot of one on one therapy. There's a lot of
Yeah.
specialty therapy where I kind of just like put shit together. It was kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, like root cause problem. Okay, like when I think this or do this or whatever, it's really coming from like this, that, and that. And then once you piece a lot of those pieces of the puzzle together, you're seeing a bigger picture. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of connections that I made which you're not going to make like you
Yeah.
as much as you can do like sitting in your bed and you're like oh why do I think I
Yeah.
might like
Exactly.
be depressed. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that helps, but you're not going to come to these conclusions really like alone. So you do
Oh no,
need
exactly.
therapy.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
therapy helps, but without that, like when I was in Arizona, there was a lot of things like there was certain, and I mean, like, I'm not going to go into super detail, but it would just take forever. But there were certain things. It was like, okay, like for the last 4 years, I haven't really been able to do this thing. Why is that? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I think it's just because of like this one event that happened. And then now I'm in Arizona. I'm thinking about it. I'm talking to a psychologist, and I was like, yeah, it's definitely because of that one event. But like also this and that, and then also that, and then
Yeah.
this. Oh, okay. Maybe one inspired two, which was 3, 4, 5, and 7. Not just like up
Yeah.
7 and
Well,
6.
yeah.
So you put a lot of stuff together. And when you put a lot of stuff together like that and you kind of like figure it out a little bit more and you dive deeper into it, it like really helps you understand. And then once you understand, like just because I went there doesn't mean I don't have depression anymore.
Yeah.
Or won't experience depression or anxiety or PTSD or anything. But now I know, like, I know what to look for. Like, I know, like, when I'm feeling anxious, or I know, like, when
Yeah.
whatever it is. And I did a lot of work. It was 30 days. And I think, like, one of the easiest ways to put it into perspective, right, is like, I came home from Arizona. And about 2 days after I was home from Arizona, I haven't been home in like 40 days at this point.
Yeah.
I got home and like on my I hadn't seen my family in 40 days. It was just me out there. Like nobody
Yeah.
came to visit me.
Yeah.
I didn't want anybody to visit me. I just wanted to do my shit. And I got home and me, my brother, my dad, and my mom were out eating Mexican food like in town. And I had like a full on anxiety attack at the dinner table. And I've never had an anxiety attack before.
Mhm.
Definitely have, just didn't know what it was.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't know what it was.
And I was like, oh my God, what the fuck, whatever. So I was like, Josh, my brother's Josh. I was like, Josh, food's not here yet. Let's go for a walk. He's like, okay. So we go outside, we go for a walk, get some fresh air, just like think about it. And I just told him straight up, I was like, dude, I think I just had an anxiety attack. He's like, what are you anxious about? I was like, dude, nothing. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But whatever. But I knew stuff that I didn't know previously. So I caught it. And then I was like, okay, I need to get up and take a little walk real quick, get some fresh air. Then I got some fresh air and I was good. Perfect. Fine. Haven't had one since. Not even in the slightest. So it's like that kind of stuff. Like once you put it into practice, it's really simple shit. I mean, it really is like just take a breath, stop and take a breath, like go for a little walk. If somebody's like riling you up, don't bite back at them. Just be like, okay, all right. Like talking to my dad, or you're talking to your friend and your friend's like, oh dude, what the fuck, whatever. And you're just like, hey man, like, we'll talk about this later. Cause like, if we're both yelling, it's not going to do anything. Then you walk away, come back and have that conversation. The conversation goes smooth. But if you stay there and he's yelling, then you're yelling, then he's yelling, and then you're yelling, you might lose a friend that day.
Exactly.
So it's like, just that's kind of like the little stuff. I mean, there's so many like little details, just like, praying, getting closer to God. Like I started getting closer to God like in January of last year before any of this happened. Mm-hmm. And I just used that like as a big thing. It was like the faith was like a big thing for me while I was going through that. And it's still a big thing for me. I read scriptures every day. I do prayers every day, multiple times a day. I read the Bible. I have a bracelet that like I can touch to my phone and it'll give me like quotes. Like I'm very involved in that. And I think like that's kind of you do it however you want. I'm not super strict with that kind of stuff, but it's just kind of like putting all the pieces together and really working on it. And like, really like, you just got to want it, man. Like that was really what it boiled down to.
And that's a big thing with that. It's like, because I've went through a lot of the same things like this, like not like the depression, anxiety, but like learning cues and like, because you don't know what you don't know. So like you said, like you've probably had anxiety attacks before, but you just didn't know how to recognize what you were having.
Right.
You just like felt unease and like, or you felt, and you didn't know like, okay, like till you don't know these ton of stuff, you don't know till you don't know. So like once you start learning frameworks, it's like, oh shit, like okay, I might have just been having an anxiety attack. Like we said, like let me take a minute and just fucking collect myself and get some fresh air, and then you can move on. Because no one's saying you're not going to have anxiety anymore, but at least like now you're a little bit more comfortable with feeling your feelings. So like you have a little bit more like to recognize, hey, I am feeling stressed out. So let me take a second and like acknowledge that, and then move forward instead of letting it consume you.
It's just that those little cues are so huge, and it's just like I've always been really good. Like I've always been really good at doing things that make me uncomfortable. Like I'm always good at like training and doing different stuff. Like I used to train like completely different than like me and you train nowadays. I was like a big calisthenics guy. Like during COVID, I ran like 14 miles for fun because I was bored and I wanted to get out of the house. But like I can't do that anymore, obviously. But I was always good at doing like that kind of stuff. But I would always like, and I mean like, I'd be like, oh, maybe I am depressed, but like, fuck it, whatever. But I wouldn't do anything. Like I wouldn't challenge myself. So
Yeah.
especially when I was a cop, I was working so much, man, and I was on nights. So I would just sit in my room for a year.
Oh
I
my,
get off
yeah,
work and then I just go to the gym, and then as soon as I'm
yeah,
done with the gym, especially on nights, like my
yeah.
days off, wake up at 5 p.m. Parents are at
They
work.
already say that's like crazy. Like when you're not
Eat.
getting enough vitamin D, like the sunlight, like
Oh
that's
no,
already messing with
none,
your
dude.
brain and stuff like that. So it's like,
No sun. I didn't
yeah,
see
it's
sun
already
for
in a bad
months,
spot from that.
which was partially my fault. Like I definitely
Yeah,
could have made it that I did, but I would wake up at 5 p.m. on my day off. My parents aren't home. My brother's not
yeah,
here. It's just me in the house.
yeah,
Eat some food, hit Iron Revolution, get a lift in, come back. It's 9 or whatever, and
yeah,
then it's 9 on a fucking Tuesday. Everybody else is working tomorrow. I'm not
yeah,
working tomorrow. So
yeah,
then I just sit in my bed or
yeah.
watch TV or whatever until I was tired, which was like 6, 7 a.m. So every day for a year, like I just would do that kind of shit. And if I wasn't doing that, I was just working. So like, yeah, I've socialized a little bit, but I never made any sacrifices to try and
Yeah.
change that. I was just like, whatever it is, what it is,
But
and that like definitely didn't help.
yeah. But isn't it crazy to think like you only in that phase for like 1 year and you recognize, or like you got to a breaking point or whatever it was. But it's so crazy to think like when you think of modern everyday people, like that's what most people's lives are. Like people like at my work, like they make fun of me because like I'll go to work and like, oh, when you go to the gym, it's again like my day is just starting now that I'm getting done work. Like I just put my 10 hours in that shit driving all day. Now it's like they go home, eat dinner, go to bed, or like watch TV for 2 hours, they go to bed. It's like that's so crazy to think like what you said, like you used to work, wake up, get a meal, go to the gym, come home, then cigar, and sit in your house. It's like to think some people just like don't see a bigger picture, or just don't have a bigger like calling, or they don't have like they don't want to like reach a purpose or anything like that. They can just like prolong that for 30 years. It's just so
Yeah,
crazy to me that it's like I don't know what it is. Like maybe like you said, like you have a like you feel like your purpose in life is to help people like get better, like the like people in them fields stuff like that, like get better at their stuff and like be a social worker for that type of stuff. But it's so crazy thing like that. It's like I wonder if everyone has like the people because I remember that was one of the questions like your purpose in life. And I remember when someone asked me, I didn't know what the purpose of my life was, and I almost like started crying because I was like, it's so crazy to think it's like, wow, like I've been on this earth for this long and I don't even know what my purpose is. Like I'm just going through life, just going to work, going paying bills, going. I was like, that's so crazy to think like how long could I have let this go on if nobody asked like, if I didn't go through this experience for myself and like learn that it's like I do have a purpose and I do want more out of life. It's like how long could I? Because I already went 10 years doing this phase, so it's like how many more years could I have done this? And it's like and how many people go their whole life like that? It's like it's
that's
just
why a
so
lot of
crazy.
people are depressed. That's why a lot of
Yeah,
people are unhappy. They don't really have friends. They have a dysfunctional marriage if they are married, where they're just kind of like whatever. It's just that is a root cause of a lot of stuff. And I was so active, dude. I was so active my whole life. I was doing this, and I was going to school, and then I was hanging with friends, and then I was going to wrestling practice, then I was going to work out, and I'm going home, and I'm eating dinner with my family, and then I'm waking up the next morning, and I got school. I was just like always doing stuff, and then. I mean, like it didn't take just a year to make all that shit happen. That was with me
yeah,
my whole life. It took
yeah,
that year to just bring it down one extra notch.
yeah,
And that was just like now, I mean, like, yeah, dude, I'll have a lazy day and I'll
yeah. Oh
not
yeah.
do it and I'll lay in my bed and watch Instagram. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't do it consistently. And there's like a lot of times that I'll do that. Like I could sleep until the cows come home, dude. I could go
I
to
cannot
sleep
sleep at all.
and I could just sleep all day. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
if I got a full 8 hours the day before. I could go to sleep right now and take a nap for 6 hours, wake up, stay up for a couple hours, and then go sleep through the night and then sleep until 4 p.m. the next day. I'm great at sleeping.
that's like a
But
gift and a curse because it's like
right.
I,
So it's
I
either
wish I
all
could
I
do that,
do
but
or
I
I
can't. But it's
don't
like
do it. I
yeah,
gotta, but that was like one of the things. It was like, yeah, on like a Saturday, like instead of every day that I'm not working or every day that I'm not doing anything, I could just like sleep and be lazy and let it kind of just like eat me, or I could just get out of bed and just go do shit. Because I don't really do anything other than, still, I don't really do anything other than like
yeah,
work and go to the gym. But now I kind of allocate a little bit more time to like hang out with my friends. And like, I still don't drink. I really don't go out. But like, I'll
yeah,
hang out with my friends. Like, one of the things that me and my friends do nowadays is, like, two of my friends are super into Jersey Shore, this TV show Jersey Shore.
yeah,
Never watched it before in my life,
yeah,
but my two boys like all the time. Like when I get off work and I don't have anything to do, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be done like training at like 8. I don't really like go out with you guys on the weekend. I want to do anything. Why don't you come over like Tuesday night? Why don't you come over? Throw on a couple episodes of Jersey
yeah,
Shore, and then like we'll watch like 2 episodes of Jersey Shore, and like me and my boys will just kind of like hang out. So I do like a lot more of that stuff. It's like I can still do what I want to do. I can still be home. I don't have to go out. I don't have to
Yeah.
spend a bunch of money. I don't have to drink. I can still eat my meals. Like it's
Yeah.
easy stuff. And it's like it's a lot better than the for me personally than the kind of like all or nothing on either side. Like I'm
Yeah.
not
Oh,
going out every single night and I'm not
yeah.
just like isolating myself. But
Yeah.
it's like I get to do what I want to do and still kind of like spend time and do other things. That's what I need to do. I know that I need to do that
Yeah.
or I'll start getting like some feeling some type of
Oh,
way.
so valuable. Them days are so valuable, and that's what's so funny because nowadays I feel like everyone like now that like we're adults of that like it's like adult relationships are like, oh, the only time you hang out is like going to a bar, and it's like, but then you're not really like because it's like you and your boys are watching TV like that's such like I would value that experience so much more than like you go to a bar, you're not really like spending. That's not like quality time with people, like. You're saying a couple words here and there, like you're drinking. You guys, I'm not saying you're not having a good time doing it. I'm sure it's fun, because I never drank. I've only drank like twice my whole life, so I'm not a drinker either. I don't drink ever. And but like I'll go out to dinner like me and like dudes from the gym will go out to dinner and it's like I value them experiences so much. Like I love them so much, and we're just there eating, talking, and telling stories, and
Yeah,
it's like we're
it's
having
the
so much fun.
best.
But it's like, if you're at
It's
the bar,
literally
like
the
you're not
best.
sitting there like communicating, like learning about people and stuff like that, and like just fun stuff and just like having actual meaningful conversations and getting to know them and stuff like that and just like telling stories about your life. And it's like I feel like that like it keeps me like so positive because it's like having them type of days. Like you
Yeah,
where
I completely agree. I completely agree. Just that stuff. It's so much better than like going out for lunch or dinner or whatever with your friends and just like sitting around
yeah,
eating, talking is like way more fun. That's always like the most fun. That's most of the most fun memories I have of like my friends is like when we got home from the bar and we're all hanging
yeah,
out or
exactly.
whatever. It was just like I'm not like I don't get me wrong. Like I like to go out every now and like all my
Yeah.
friends are like big going out people. I'll have my fun every now and then. Like I went out for Christmas like with some of my friends, but like I don't really drink.
Not a
So I
must.
mean
Like
I
you know, it's
drank
not
like
like a be all end
a
all. Like
couple.
it's not like something you have to do. Like it's like art of like there's dudes that like have like because I didn't know this was an actual thing. Like people actually have like the FOMO, like fear of missing out. Like if it's a Saturday night and they're
Oh
not out
yeah.
drinking, like they have like they're like start going crazy. Like, well, I know everyone's out and I'm at home. Like, but it's like,
Oh
but
yeah,
like
that messes people up. But good.
that's
Like
what's saying.
people
It's
really
not
really care about that.
yeah. So
I
it's
was
not an
like,
issue
dude,
that you have.
I didn't miss anything. Like, I didn't miss
Yeah,
anything. All my boys got hammered, and then like two of them were trying to hit on girls the whole night, and probably struck out almost the entire time.
exactly. Yeah,
What did I miss? It's the same
yeah.
every time. But yeah, I mean, like it's
Nothing
fun
I
to
can
go out
do.
every now and then, but not
Yeah,
like every weekend and like
yeah.
all that
It's not.
stuff.
Yeah,
I'll go
it's not
out
a
like
must.
for occasions. Like I'll go out like Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, the night before Thanksgiving is like a huge
Oh yeah,
tradition
yeah,
here at like one of our local bars is like a huge thing. I went out for that, and like Christmas Eve is a big one too.
yeah,
Went out for that. I drank on Thanksgiving. I didn't even really drink much, but I had like a couple beers on Thanksgiving. Didn't drink at all on Christmas. I was fine. I had fun, but
yeah.
like I'm good. So next time, like when something big pops up, if it's like one of my buddy's birthdays or something like fun, or like July 4th or something, yeah, I'll go do something. But like other than that, I don't need to go every weekend or like
Yeah.
3 times a month or whatever. It's just not that important to me. But
Yeah, it's not a fear of
whatever.
missing out. Not a FOMO kind of guy over there, huh?
No, I'm good.
Yeah,
I think I really like. I enjoy playing Xbox with my friends too. Like
yeah,
I don't play a ton of Xbox, but like I'll play maybe
yeah,
like
that's right, yeah,
twice, 3 times a week, maybe. I mean, a lot of times I like to just go to bed if I'm super tired. But
yeah,
if I get like 3 or 4 of my boys on like Call of Duty or something like that, it's a great time.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Just talking shit and stuff like that. That's a fun time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So there was never. Did you ever like have a phase in your life where you had like that, like when you were younger and like less mature, like emotionally mature as you are now? Did you have phases like that where you had like the fear of missing out type of thing, like where you like feel like you had to be included and all that type of stuff, or not really because you were like so into school and everything?
Um, no, not really. I mean, there were times that like some of my friends like did stuff without me that I was like, oh, I wish like they invited me,
Hmm.
but I was never. I don't really think I ever thought about like what am I missing that they're doing right
Yeah,
now that like could be good for me. I never really thought like that. But I mean, like if somebody's hanging out and they like, if it's like two of my best friends and they're hanging out and like I'm not doing anything, they didn't think to invite me, then maybe I would have in the past. Honestly, now I don't. I couldn't give a shit really, like
yeah,
because I'll probably say no
yeah.
most
You
of the time.
literally,
I say no
it's like,
anyway. But like most of the times they invite me. My friends, like my close, like my high school and like hometown friends that are not like gym friends, they don't really even invite me to anything. I just kind of
Yeah,
invite myself because I
yeah,
know that they're always doing stuff. So I'll just call one of them and be like, it was like,
yeah. If you
Tyler,
guys are
can
out,
I
I'll
come
pull up.
work at
Yeah,
your house? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, I'll come over in 15.
yeah.
But like, I never was really afraid of like missing out per se.
That's pretty crazy. No, I'm not. I've never been a big fear of missing out kind of guy either. But that brings up another question. I just had a couple questions. I just want to run through a couple questions. Just to just like personality questions. It's like
Yeah.
just so curious about. This is just like stuff I'm curious about. Like, so I love to hear people's stories on just random questions. So like one of the good ones is like who was like a role model in your life? Like when you think back of like who shaped your life a lot as a child, like not as a child, but like as a young man, or like who did someone you look up to, like family friend or anybody like that? Who's somebody you think like, damn, that dude definitely made like a big impact on my life without even him trying or no or her, could be a girl. Someone like if you just seen how they conduct themselves, you're like, I want to be like that.
I think like a couple people. I think an easy answer is my dad because my
Yeah.
dad was always kind of like leading me. Um,
Like
my
what are some
brother,
personality traits what are some traits and personality things that you see from your dad where like that's so respectable? I want like people to look at me the way I look at him. Like what are some things that he did that were like, yeah, that's like someone stood by his word a lot, like or like somebody like what
yeah,
was
hard
his work
work,
ethic like?
accountability, reliability. He was always there when he said he was going to be there. He'd always doing stuff. He was always trying to do better for like me and my brother. Owns his own business. Like he always works hard, and he always leads by example that way. So I was always kind of like I want to make my dad proud. I want to work hard, and like I want to do like what he does. And he works hard. He grinds. He works like even on his off days when he's not at his office, he's doing stuff. And that was definitely a big like determination. My brother was my older brother, and he did everything that I wanted to do. So I was always like, "Oh, I'm gonna do what Josh did, but do it better." So that was like a big rivalry, and it was like a big motivation. But I think like outside of my family, my biggest mentor is like a very close family friend, real close family friend. He was a trooper for 30 years. So like works in government agencies. He was my wrestling coach, my first wrestling coach when I was 4, and he's just like just a really hard working dude. He's a kind, nice guy. Like coached us for free his whole life. We used to wrestle in his basement when we were 4, and it was like a couple of us that would wrestle with him. And he coached me all the way through until college, and we talk every week. We used to like go out to dinner all the time. Like he's got a lot of connect. He helped me get into programs. He helped me with community service. He helped me get in touch with like anything that I needed, like from the government, anything like that. Helped me get a job as a cop. Helped me get help. Like he started the resiliency program for police officers in New Jersey
Oh
with the
wow.
state police. Like he just gets shit done. He just gets shit done. And he's got a lot of integrity, and he's just a very generous and like helpful person. And I've known him since I was 4. So he was
Yeah, your whole
probably
life,
the
yeah.
biggest role model for me as I grew up, and still to this day.
Yeah. That's a good one. Family. Then do you like is that something that you like thought of when you were growing? Like that was something that you actively thought of, like you wanted to make your dad proud? Like was that something like when you were wrestling,
Yeah.
like that was in the crowd, like yeah, I want to make my dad proud on this.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay. That was
Yeah, it
something
was
fun in
definitely a
mind.
thing. I mean, like I also like enjoyed winning, but
Yeah.
that was
What
definitely
do you
like
think? Talk about proud as another one. Like, what do you think the proudest moment of your life has been? Like something that you not like that you made yourself proud of yourself, like that you showed up for yourself. Like it could be an accomplishment, like something as simple as graduating high school, or like what is something you think like, damn, that's my proudest moment. Like that's I set a goal and I did it, or just like you follow through with something.
um I think honestly, I think two of them. I remember the day that I got into Merchant Marine because I knew that I wanted to do that for my whole life, and even though that's not what I ended up doing for my whole
Yeah,
life,
yeah,
no regrets there
yeah.
whatsoever. Um, I was wrestling. Right? It was a high school practice. I was wrestling, and my coach came up to me. He's like, "Jake, your dad's here. You have to go outside." And I was like, "Oh
Mhm.
my god, like, what the fuck happened?" And I walked outside. He had the acceptance letter in his hand, and I was just like running through the hallways, and I was like, "Yeah!" And like my whole team came out, and everybody was like
Yeah,
dapping me up and everything, and I was just like super super proud of myself for like being able to do that. I think
yeah,
that was probably one of them, and honestly, realistically, like not necessarily like a whole moment, but like a period of time, like probably like right now, like the last
yeah.
couple months is probably one of the proudest moments of my life. Like coming home from Arizona and like making the changes and like seeing within myself and like how I conduct myself and just like how I feel, um, it's just better. I mean, like and that was like a big thing because it's like it's kind of like it's really a weird concept, and like most people don't really know me well enough to see the difference.
Yeah,
Besides like very very close people, but like I wake up every day different than I was 8 months ago,
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
and I think that's it's like a new me. So I think I was definitely like, proud for like probably the last couple months after I got home from Arizona and like really
yeah,
saw the changes. I mean, I'm used to it now, like it just is what it is.
yeah,
But it was just like, like I worked really hard my whole life to like get to improve, and I feel like I've made a lot of improvements in the last couple months, and it's like I really and the big part of it was like nobody like asked me to do it, nobody
yeah. So
forced
yeah,
me to
this is
do
like
it, like I
I should
just
say
did
like
it for
that.
myself.
Super proud that you put yourself on this journey and took the initiative to get better, like and actually like mental mastery and get better control of your emotions and stuff like that. Like have emotional maturity and stuff like that. That's huge.
Yeah, I think that's realistically probably like one of the proudest like sections. I'm not like as small as a moment, but like sections of my life. I
Yeah,
think
oh, yeah,
I take a lot of pride in that, and I'm very open. I mean, there's certain things that I can't with this like because it's still an ongoing thing, that I can't really like talk about in depth, but I will one day. But like I tell everybody about it. Like when I got back to like the gym and everything, I told people like when
yeah,
people ask like some of my closer friends that I see every day, like oh, that might not have been like they're not like my best friends, like in my
yeah,
small circle. But like I tell everyone, I don't give a shit. I don't
yeah.
care. So
Yeah,
yeah,
100%.
I,
That's something like, for you. Like I would be proud of that. It's like I'm on that. Like I might not have took it that extreme to like going where, but I mean, the way you're experiencing, the way you say how Arizona was, like that would be something I would love to go do. Like just to be better at being being myself. Not better at being myself, but like I would love to. Like I love like that journey of like self help and like understanding yourself better. And it's like I wish, like how you said you're going to school for psychology. It's like I wish I could just like not get a degree, but like I would love to just go and like learn psychology from like good professors, not like the nonsense that some of the schools teach. But like I would love to like study it and just like because it's like fun. It's like
yeah,
this is your only body. It's like this is like your brain. It's like this is who you are. So it's like why would you not? You want to be as good as possible at like learning
yeah,
yourself and being able to control stuff because people are like when people see people and they're like oh like he's a tough guy, it's like that's just somebody that's emotionally immature, like he can't control his emotions, that he's driven to anger so quickly, like that's not someone like you should respect, like oh this guy like snaps and wants to like tear someone's head off. It's like I don't respect that, like that means a guy can't, he like loses control of himself like so quickly. That's not like a respectable thing. I would
yeah,
respect somebody that can actually control themselves when situations like somebody tries to drive them to anger and they know in their head, like they have the mental frameworks to know, like, okay, it's not that's like, is this going to matter in 5 years that this guy just called my mom a bitch? No, let me not fight
no,
him. So
right,
it's like
yeah,
something
no,
like that.
100%, 100%. It's
And
like
that's huge that you did that for yourself. Like you put yourself on that
it's
journey.
big.
That's huge.
Yeah, I'm definitely like, proud of that, and I think it was tough because like really, how many people do you know that went to like
Yeah,
rehab for mental health? Probably
exactly.
none. Probably not
No,
a single one. And I was like a little worried, like when I came back, it's like, oh, people are gonna think I'm fucking nuts. People are gonna whatever. And then
yeah,
I was just like, yeah, I don't really give a fuck actually at
exactly.
all.
Then it's like, then you think about it. Bottom line, it's like, does their opinion matter? Not really. So it's like, it's
No,
bottom line, and that's a funny thing too. Like it's like because they say like being embarrassed, but it's like, how could you really be embarrassed about yourself? Because if you're living your life to who you are as your values, and you're living yourself like your genuine self, what does it really be embarrassed about? Because it's like that's like you're just being yourself. So if someone doesn't like that or doesn't agree with you, it's like it doesn't really matter because it's what you believe in and what you like. So it's like okay, well, if the I can't be embarrassed that I like XYZ because it's what I like. So I'm not gonna be embarrassed by that. It's like if I was
yeah,
putting on a facade and saying I like something that I didn't just to like try to impress people, and then people come at me for that, it's like okay, then I could see like that would be like, but I'm just being myself, so there's no reason to be upset for like wanting to do better for yourself. So
yeah. But that was always like a thing that I tried to do. And like, I mean, you were around Iron a little bit, like when me and Danny used to train there. Like we just say and do whatever the fuck we wanted, and just
yeah,
say stupid shit. We just
yeah,
say dumb stuff all the time, and like just have fun. And most of the people thought it was hilarious, and most people were
yeah,
like, "Oh shit, my chair just broke." Most people like thought it was like funny and like agreed with it, and some people were like, "Oh, dude, those guys are like fucking
yeah,
weird, whatever." And then he's like, "All right, cool. Like, I don't give a shit, bro. Like, who are
exactly.
you? Like, whatever. It is what it is." But that was kind of just like in a more extreme level, and I
Yeah,
really don't. I mean, like, there's certain people that I in this world that I care about, like what they think of me,
yeah,
just like everybody should. But like generally, like I'm just gonna do my thing, man. Like
Yeah,
I'm gonna do whatever I want to do and like however I want to do it. And like I know where like the basic lines of like being a good person, like the respect are. But
exactly.
like that's really it. And that's like I feel like where everybody should operate, and most people don't.
It
And
is
it's been like
crazy.
a very big thing that like I've kind of like realized. It's just like you gotta kind of like do it for yourself and not necessarily like a lot of people say they're doing it for themselves. A lot of people say they're doing stuff for themselves, and they are to an extent, but like it's also for other people, and that just
Yeah,
doesn't
exactly.
work as
Exactly.
well
A
as
lot of the
as
stuff
you.
like until you learn the frameworks, a lot of because I've learned that about myself too. Like a lot of the stuff you do, you don't even realize without like knowing the psychology behind stuff you're doing. It's like, wow, I actually don't want to do this, and it's like I'm only
Yeah,
doing this because I know it's going to lead to the approval of other people. So I'm only doing it for that. But I'm telling myself I want to do it, but I know I'm doing it
yeah.
for X, Y, Z. That's not actually a good reason. And
Your
it's crazy how
attitude
that stuff
about it
is
is
break stuff
huge
down.
too. The
What's that?
attitude that you have when you like present stuff like that is huge
Yeah,
too. Like I talk to people all the time. They're like, "Oh, you're a cop." I'm like, "No, not anymore." And they're like, "Oh, really?" I'm like, "Yeah."
yeah,
Like, why
exactly.
not? I
Yeah,
was like, not for me. I'm just going to school.
yeah,
And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. But if I was like, oh, dude, no, like I'm not a cop, like no,
yeah,
they'd be like, oh, what happened? Like, what's wrong?
yeah,
Must be something bad. Or like when I
yeah.
talk about stuff like that, I'm just like, yeah, dude, like that's what I'm doing. And then like
Exactly.
if they kind of like sense like the comfortable tone that I'm coming with and like the confidence, and they're just like, oh yeah, all right, word, sounds good,
Exactly.
checks out.
It's crazy.
But if you're like all trying to hide it in this, then they're like, oh, there
Yeah,
must be
exactly.
more to this story. Like
Yeah,
something
exactly.
must have happened, or like something must be sour here.
Yeah. Sometimes, but it's crazy. We were talking about like how it was funny because I just had a conversation with my friend about this today when he said like he was at like 7-Eleven or something like that and seen someone with like rainbow hair and he was like it's so crazy to think like that usually goes with like usually it's very easily stereotype people with that but it's crazy to think because it's like it's actually crazy because somebody that has like that type of hair, it's like that's what they want and they did it. Like they weren't worried about like the society norms of like, oh, I might not. And it's like he's like, imagine how many people who actually want their hair to look like that, but don't have like they think like, oh well, I don't want to be judged or I can't because my boss might say something at work. And it's like it is funny to think like, wow, the people you see do have them hair, like they have like whatever, like they dress the way they want, or like when you brought up Danny, I know people always like give him flack for like stuff he wears or something like that, or like the stuff he does, and it's so funny thing. It's like how many other people want to act like that and want to do that? That's how they actually want to behave as opposed
Oh
to like
yeah,
I would love to like dye my hair fucking rainbow, but I don't want Jen from my work to like look at me weird or my boss to like think I'm a
right.
weirdo. So I'm not going to do it. But it's like it's a funny thing. Like damn, like there is probably like dudes that are like CEOs that feel like they can't be them true selves because they live under this title. So it's like that is so crazy thing. Like in a world where that is the people that are actually doing that are like, wow, these are the people that actually like are like a little more free. Like, cause they're like they usually
Just do
looked
whatever
at
they
like, oh,
want.
they're weird or like why would
Yeah,
they do that? That hair looks so stupid. Or they're weird, but it's like they're the ones that are living them true selves. Like that's crazy to think like how weird like the society is of like the outlooks on people. It's pretty crazy to think like the
yeah.
psychology behind it.
I think like obviously the same thing with like not caring about what people think. It's like
Mhm.
the only caveat with that is obviously like like you work for a company and they say you can't do that. Like you might really want to do that, but like probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
That's like pretty simple. But like the people that do whatever they want are happier. And you know what? Might not be for me or for you, but like
Oh,
whatever, dude.
100%,
Like
yeah,
I
100%.
respect people
Yeah,
that
no,
want to
yeah,
like
no, I don't. Yeah, exactly.
we might not be friends and I might not agree with whatever their ideals are in life, but like
100%.
if they wanted to, do whatever they did and then they did it, like, dude, whatever. Live your life,
Yeah,
man. If you're
that's
happy,
a
you're
big.
happy.
Yeah, that's a
Me and
huge
Danny
thing.
used to get that all the time. Like people used to comment on his Instagram, be like, "Oh, white boy in a bandana, bro." I'm just like, "Yeah, bandanas are cool, dude. I'm gonna wear
It's like
them."
not cool.
Like
Like, don't wear
plain
one,
and
dude.
simple, bro.
No
I
one's
like
pushing you to wear one.
bandanas.
Yeah,
I'm wearing them. It's
yeah,
just like stuff like that. Yeah, 100%. Danny is a great example of that.
yeah,
Danny is a fantastic example of that, and me and him used to like make comments about it all the time. A lot of the funny stuff was like me and Danny would be lifting an iron, and you have like a group of people, and they'd be like, "Oh, dude, he's so big, like he's definitely on steroids, like
yeah,
f that, whatever," and like shit talking, and like me and him
yeah,
would be standing there, like we can hear it. They don't
yeah.
know we can hear it, but like we could hear it.
Mhm.
And then like 5 minutes later, they walk up and be like, "Oh, what's up, guys? Can I get a picture?" And they're just like,
Yeah. It's such a funny like it's like what's
"Whatever."
it it's such like a funny like society like social experiment. It's so funny like that type of
Yeah,
thing. It's like where it's like when they don't think you can hear it, it's like they like oh must be on steroids, but then it's like That's like them just coping with themselves. Like they don't look a certain way, so
Yeah,
there has to be a reason behind it because they don't look that way. So
dude,
it's like he
all
couldn't have naturally done it.
all the
It's
time.
yeah.
All the
It's
time.
I think that
We
that
used,
applies
we
to
used to
so many.
catch people saying shit like on a machine next to him, and they would say stuff about like me or him or both of us or whatever. And then I remember there's this group of kids. It was like 3 kids, and it was back like before Iron expanded, and we were like, I think we were doing like chest flash or something like that. And the kids were next to us, and they were like shit talking Danny about like taking steroids
Mhm.
and stuff. And then Danny was like, "Yo, watch this," and I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Just watch this." And he sits down and starts chest flying. And he like puts it real heavy and gets one,
Yeah,
gets the other. And he's like, "Oh, I love steroids!" And he just starts working out. He screamed it, dude, like the
yeah,
whole gym could hear. And the kids were just like, and then
exactly.
I got on, did the same thing, and everybody that knows us was like laughing, and these kids were
Mhm.
just like, "Oh my god!" I was like, dude, like I don't know where you came up with that idea, but that was
Yeah,
hilarious. Just like, who cares, bro? Like, just let
yeah,
me do
literally.
my shit. That it's like it's such a simple concept, but it's like really hard to put into practice. But like when you put it into practice, it's like life is so much better.
No, exactly. That is definitely another good one. I love to think about another one. Just like obviously, I'm sure you know because you do a lot of like self reflections of that. Is it, what do you think like your biggest like characteristic flaw is? Like something you notice in yourself that it's like you have a hard time with.
I think like I have a very kind of like extreme personality when it comes to like a lot of things. So I'm either like 100% or 0%,
Hmm.
and like it works really well with like certain things,
Yeah,
but it also does not work with a lot of stuff. So I think it's kind of like the like all in or nothing. Like it's kind of like you gotta pick and choose what you're using that for.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
I have like that's one of my big
yeah,
ones. It's caused me a lot of issues in life because it's like very extreme. It's like and it's like
yeah, I
all or
think
nothing.
that's the
It's
biggest one. It's like you gotta choose what that 100% really like is gonna
yeah,
help you with. Because if it's 100 or 0, like you got to have like some sort of balance or some sort of middle with a lot of the
mhm,
stuff. Like when I was like 100, you could go out 100% of the time or
yeah,
0% of the time.
yeah,
Humans are social animals, dude.
yeah,
Like if you're going out 0% of the time, you have like no
yeah,
socialization, you're going to be depressed as shit, and you're going to be
yeah. I
super,
wouldn't.
super, super
Yeah,
unhealthy. With that, even
yeah,
if you eat really healthy, you're still going to be super unhealthy because
yeah.
the humans are not designed to be locked away all the time.
I went
And
through
if you
things
go
where
out all the time, you're not getting shit done, dude.
yeah,
You're not
yeah,
getting anything done ever, and you're gonna lose a bunch of money, and you're
yeah,
gonna probably be really unhealthy too. So, like with stuff like that's a super easy example. Like you gotta have some balance, but
yeah.
like that was a big one, and I kind of was like I always knew that I was kind of like hardcore with like certain things, but
Mhm.
I never really like thought about it like how it really applies to like all parts of my life.
Oh
And
my
now
god,
I'm
yeah.
kind of like better at that. So it's like trying to manage that like all or nothing kind of like
Mhm.
mindset and at everything. Like, oh, it's either yes, it's no, it's 100, it's 0, it's black, it's white. It's just not. It's how some stuff works, but not everything.
Yeah. It is hard to get out of that framework though, because I know
Yeah,
because I've dealt with the same very extreme personality and just like very addictive personality too. Like something like if I drink coffee in the morning once, that's like, okay, for the next 5 years I'm drinking coffee every single day. It's like I have to drink coffee now in the morning because I've done it once. Then it's like 5 years later, it's like, why do I drink coffee every day? It's like, oh, I don't know. I did it once 5 years ago and I just stay with it. It's
yeah.
just so
Just like, oh,
funny.
I'm
That's
just
just like
doing it now.
yeah, it's just something that, and then someone will be like, well, there's a better way to do that. And I'm like, really? I don't know. I've done it this way for 10 years. And it's like, well, maybe try this way. I do it that way. It's like, why did I do this 10 years ago? It's like, I'm an idiot. But it's like,
Right.
you're just like such an extreme person and just like such a, in the habit of doing stuff that it's just like, it just locks in. It's like, it's so hard
Yeah.
to like look at that.
Yeah. I do that
It's,
all
let me see
a
if I
bunch
have
of
any
different
good,
stuff.
I have a bunch of good questions I've written down just because I wanted to see if I like a lot of these questions. Let's see which one. New podcast. Oh, that's a good one too. Like, what's your biggest fear? Like, what do you think your biggest fear in life is?
That's a tough question, honestly.
I know.
I would say probably like generally my biggest fear is looking back on my life and not like and having like regrets or like being unhappy with what I did. It's like I think more so now, like we are saying with like the kind of like self reflection development, like I know exactly what I want to do and like kind of like how I want to conduct myself and how I
Yeah.
want to like think on like a pretty regular basis. And I don't really think that's going to change much
Yeah.
because it's not anything abstract. It's just like here's like the my personal rules that like I know I'm going to operate well by and like what I think is like my morals and like my standards aren't really going to change.
Yeah. Exactly.
Um, so from what they are right now, at least. So I think that's my biggest fear is like waking up one day when I'm like 50 or 60 and looking back and being like, ah, fuck, man, like should have done this or should have done that or whatever. And so far, honestly, I don't think I really have any
I would say, do
regrets.
you have any regrets as of right now? And I know most people say like, I don't have any regrets because it led me to this point where I'm at. Like, I know that's like the caveat, the cliche thing to say that everyone just the automatic answers. I have no regrets because if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be where I am. But it's like, okay, but I mean, I get that obviously, but like maybe there is something that you could have done that saved you a year of headache. Like,
No,
not that's like you personally would
not
say like
really.
there is nothing really comes to mind.
No, I think I'm a strong believer in that. I'm a strong
Yeah,
believer in that everything happens for a reason.
got it.
I think everything kind of like happens as God intends it to. So I
Mhm.
wouldn't really like. I don't really regret anything. I mean, the only thing that I could say is like maybe like if I went to like Coast Guard instead of Merchant Marine, my life would have been a
Yeah,
little bit different. But like that's also
got
like who really
it.
knows?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. Yeah, I mean that's
No, it's
really
just
it.
not a regret. Do
It's
you
just
think there's
kind of
any
like
like
how it is.
if there's not any regret from like your life before, like, what do you think? Like, do you have any advice for like your younger self? Like, if you were to talk to your younger self, like say middle school you, since there's no regret, is there anything that you think could have like maybe eased the way a little bit better for you, like a life, not life choice, but I'm saying like some advice to your younger self that could have made your life a little bit same transition, but maybe just like, hey, listen, like don't overreact as much, or like everything's
Yeah, I would. That's really the only advice I would give a younger self of mine would be like, like go to a therapist, like be open with your emotions, stuff like that. Like I never showed any really emotion at
yeah,
all until like 8 months ago.
that's crazy. Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
really just was blank. Like I just wouldn't like my parents when I was a kid. They used to all the time. I'd get like pissed, I get
mhm,
frustrated or sad or whatever, and like you could see it. Like I couldn't
yeah,
hide it when I was a
yeah.
kid, and they'd be like, "Jake, talk, like talk to us. So what's going on? Talk to us." And I just wouldn't talk. I just wouldn't say anything. I'd just be like,
Well, that's do you actually.
"Peace
It's so
out."
funny. I the same. I was the same way. It still am to a degree because I haven't not as far along as the journey as you. But like, do you think back? Because it's funny because I look back and think, and I'm like, I can't remember like because now I can recognize when I'm having anxiety because like I've went through the steps. I've learned like to learn about myself more. But then when I think back about my younger self, like I can't remember times where I was having stress because it was like I was just so numb to all emotions because I just numbed
Yeah,
everything out that I didn't
yeah,
even know, like, because I didn't recognize it before, because I just knew I just felt like shit, or I didn't know. It was always like that mentality. It's like, oh, you're tough. Like, just do the work. You have to get up tomorrow. You have to go to work. You have to train. You have to get your meals in. Like, don't worry about it. Like, if you feel like shit, you feel like shit. It's just part of life. You'll feel better. Because I didn't recognize it, but now I'm thinking back and I was like, I don't even remember what I felt back then. Like, I had no signs of like recognizing anything like that, so I don't even know what I felt back then. Do you have like
yeah.
since before, like now that you are
Same.
aware of like your emotions now, do you look back and think like, oh, okay, like that was a super stressful time in life, or did you it was just numb back then for you too, or you knew
It was
no,
like numb, but I know, like a lot of specific events that like triggered something or like might have like caused me grief in the past, like before I like worked on it. Like I know a lot of different events that I could name off the top of my head of like things happening. But like generally like the overall just being like not good at expressing emotion or like depression or anxiety or anything like that. I couldn't really pinpoint a time. It was really only like big events that like triggered something
yeah,
especially. But yeah,
yeah,
no, I mean like I do remember like my parents like saying that to me if I was like pissed off or something. They were like, "Oh, like talk to us, like what's going on?" And I would just be like, "No, I'm not going to talk." Like I remember like vividly in my brain just being like, mm-mm.
yeah,
And I just wouldn't say anything. And then I wouldn't say anything to anyone, so I would just go like completely unaddressed.
yeah,
I kind of like operated on the fact like I would only tell you there's a problem or if like there was something going on if you like had if I had to because you were there and you witnessed it.
yeah,
Like, if I stubbed my toe and you were standing next to me, and I was like,
yeah,
"Oh fuck," and you were like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Oh well, I stubbed my
yeah,
toe," because you were fucking looking at me. But if
yeah,
I stub my toe and you're not there, you're never gonna know. I'm never gonna tell you.
yeah,
And I mean, like obviously, a stub toe's not a big deal, but it was
yeah,
like that applied to everything, how
mm,
big, how small, whatever.
yeah,
There's a lot of things that I just like never told people that weren't involved or never like talked about or opened up with, or like oh that might have fucked me up or that might have like whatever. I just never ever did it until very recently, and I was just like a good analogy that they use a lot in like therapy and a lot in psychology is like you're like a bucket, right? And all the problems and stress is like the water, and it fills up, and eventually you're going to overflow.
yeah,
So if you don't have a way to drain some of that water out, then you're headed towards the end pretty fast, right? You're
Yeah.
gonna run out of space. You're gonna whatever. So I had the bucket and it was just getting filled up, but I never let any of it out.
Yeah.
Very minimal amount. And it just wasn't enough. And then over time that kind of like builds up, and then you're screwed. So you gotta find a way to let some of that water out of the bucket, because life is not going to stop putting water in the
No.
bucket.
Yeah.
No matter how well adjusted you are, no matter how good you are at handling your emotions, like
Mhm.
life is not going to get easier. You're just going to be better at dealing with it. It's not going to get
Yeah.
easier. Like you're still going to have financial problems. You're still going to have relationship problems. People are going to die. People are going to do fucked up shit. Like bad stuff is going to happen to you throughout your life. It's just about how you deal with it. Because like one little bad thing can happen and can throw you off for a year, or one little bad thing can happen and can throw you off for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
But that's up to you.
What are some ways that you think you've learned to like get rid of that water in the bucket? Like, is that just like communicating, meditating,
Yeah.
journaling, praying? Is it like
I don't
what?
really journal. That's like really that's like a very like everybody talks about it and loves it and everything.
Yeah,
I never really
I
personally
don't
got
do it
into
either. I
it.
just know it's one of the things.
Yeah, I never personally got into it, but like it helps a lot of people. So I tell people that's
Yeah.
yeah, use it, journal if you think it helps you. Definitely journal. But I do, yeah, praying, reading the Bible, talking, even just like my friends,
Mhm.
going to therapy, anything like that. And I think like for me specifically too, I think learning, like going to school, learning this kind of stuff, also helps me because I also apply all of it to myself.
Oh my god, yeah.
But it'll help me in my profession, but it'll help me be more proficient at it myself inside as well. So I think that's really good. But just kind of like, and just like slowing down too, and just like appreciating little things in like the day and being like cognizant of that. And there's like a really easy thing to say, but like, so like one of the things that like I tell people and like was taught to me about like breathing too is like a real simple concept. Is like, oh, like just breathe, right?
Oh yeah,
Just breathe.
breath work. Mhm.
But yeah, like okay, yeah, just breathe. All right, well, I don't feel better,
Mhm.
which is what most people do.
Yeah,
Just like when you're breathing, you're counting. Like I'm counting how
yeah,
long my inhale is, how long my hold is, how long my exhale is, and then like when you're also doing that, like I think about it, it's just like a meditation thing. It's like when you listen to like a meditation, it'll get like
yeah.
really in depth about like your
Mhm.
surroundings and stuff. It's like when you're laying in bed, you can't sleep in your breathing. Lay in bed and close your eyes, and like the seconds that you're not counting how long you're holding your breath. Maybe you don't even have to. Maybe you're just doing it automatic.
Yeah,
It's like think about like really, really just be like fucking shut everything out. And you're
yeah.
laying in your bed and think about like I feel like a little tightness in my lower back and like I
Mhm.
feel the bed supporting me. Like okay, I feel it on my legs more than I do my lower back and my
Mhm.
shoulders. And, like this pillow is in my neck and like my soft blanket on top of me. And like you think of that, like really think about that and say
Yeah.
that in your head while you're breathing, and you're
Mhm.
just turning your mind off. Like,
No,
or you could
it's
be
crazy.
like laying in bed, sitting there, also breathing with your eyes open, be like, "Oh man, me and Ryan got to that big argument." And
Mhm.
so, like, yeah, you're breathing, but like you're
Yeah,
also not doing anything positive at the same time. You're just
yeah.
like snowballing yourself. So like that kind of stuff, and I do that like regularly. Even just like being outside, like going
Mhm.
for a walk, and just like you can go for a walk through the woods, and it's nice. Or you can go for a walk and like really experience it, and like look at the
Yeah, oh,
trees.
yeah.
Wow, this is like really beautiful, and
It's so.
breathe in the air.
Mhm.
Right. So
So funny you mention that because I was literally last night I was going to bed and I was thinking I'm like I can't wait for it to snow tomorrow because I can't wait to walk outside with no phone,
yeah,
no headphones, and just like take in the nature and just like the stillness of the air and just like I can't wait to go
yeah,
outside and experience that the snow and to just be out at nighttime under the stars and just with the snow and like it's just such a great experience.
100%.
It's funny you
Mindfulness
mentioned that about
is such a big thing.
yeah,
That mindfulness.
and it is funny to think like what you said like it's so funny to think like how like you said, like laying in bed and stuff like that. It's so funny, like how common it is you hear nowadays where people are like, "Oh, I have to have the TV on. I can't get to bed," because like they have to distract themselves from their brain because they don't know how to turn their brain off. So like they have to like wait till they just absolutely pass out from exhaustion to go to sleep because they can't sit there and like be in their own brain for 15 minutes before they go to bed. They have to, and that's what like what life is. With a lot of people, like I was going to ask you that, like how often do you sit and just like be one with your thoughts and actually like do some like internal inventory of your brains for that because most people like they're always scrolling they always have some type of distraction going on. It's always like if they're watching TV or they're smoking a cigarette or they're doing something, there's always some type of distraction to keep their brain focused that like when they actually have that 10-20 minutes before they go to bed, everything hits them at once because they don't ever give themselves the time, and then
Right.
it's so overwhelming for them they don't know how to handle it. So
I
is
do
there any
it like quite
time?
a lot, honestly. Like I do it a fair amount, probably multiple times a day. Honestly, even like I'm good at it too. I do it a lot when I drive. Like when I'm
Yeah.
driving, a lot of times, like I'll put music on, and most of them I don't even listen to music. Like
Mhm.
I don't even remember what I was thinking about. But the other day I was thinking about something, and I was like in deep thought about something, and I drove from here to my family's marina, which is about 15 minutes away. It's not like
Mhm.
super long, but I drove from there to there, and I didn't even like I parked the car, and I was like.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like I was thinking about so I knew what I was thinking about. I knew the topic. It was like I didn't
Yeah.
remember like turning. I didn't remember stopping at red
Yeah.
lights or
I
like
love
stop
that stuff though.
signs or
Isn't that
anything
like
like
so
that.
fun? That's exhilarating though. Like it's so fun to
Yeah,
like be in your
but
brain and think about stuff.
right. So like I was just mechanically driving to work, whatever.
Mhm.
Like I know where I'm going, and like I just did that. But I was really like thinking and reflecting, and it's not like I wasn't like distracted driving or I'm like on my
Yeah.
fucking phone looking at something else.
Yeah.
I was just like really just stop, think, and just kind of like do stuff. I do that all the time, and I used to have the same problem that you were mentioning about like going to sleep. I would always watch
Mhm.
TV before I went to sleep. I'd like
Yeah.
pop my laptop in my bed and just like watch
Yeah.
whatever until I fell asleep. And I still do that because I go to bed. Like normally when I don't go out, like I go up into my room because like
Yeah.
my parents like sleep on the couch and like watch football or
Mhm.
whatever, and like I'm not. They go to sleep at like 9, so like I'm not gonna like sit on the
Yeah.
couch quiet as a mouse for.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
All right, so like I'll go in my room and like do whatever, and like I'll watch TV before bed like almost every night. I'll watch
Mhm.
like a little something, but now I close my computer and turn it off
Mhm.
and then go to
Yeah.
sleep. And like yeah, I don't really have like the greatest sleep schedule because I stay up
Yeah.
late typically, but like I very rarely fall asleep while watching TV
Yeah.
anymore unless I'm just like super
Yeah.
tired
Exactly.
and I
Yeah.
didn't really feel that tired when I laid down. So I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I'll throw an episode on and then I'm just out. But
Mhm.
normally I'm like, all right, I'm really not tired. It's only 10, and then I'll stay up to
Yeah.
like 11:30. I'm like, okay, I'm getting tired. Let me close the laptop and like go to
Yeah,
sleep.
you're
And
not
it's
subconsciously
fine.
watching TV to like avoid the thoughts because I know people that
No,
like
not
they know
anymore.
that that's the problem. Like they're overwhelmed with the thoughts, so they know like they have to. They'll just be up all night thinking, so they have to like put something
I
on TV.
used to, not anymore. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, not
gotcha.
anymore.
And
I'm
it's just
good
so
now.
funny thing. Like that's for like it's so funny that 'cause it shows different type of personalities because it's like obviously like you would think like that used to like I've always been like very open with myself. Like I was kind of like never really had like a lot of issues where I felt like I needed to like because I drive tractor trailers for a living, so I'm always
Yeah,
by myself, like in my own head, thinking and
yeah,
processing and stuff like that. And it's funny to actually think about like this whole journey that we're talking about, like mental, like mastery and stuff like that. And it's actually hilarious, not hilarious, but when I was like 16 years old, I got sent away to like a juvenile placement for 9 months, and it was so funny to think like I vividly remember having this thought, and it was funny because I don't know where it came from. I remember like saying like I wasn't like upset that I was being taken away from my family and friends, like high school year. I was like set away because I always in my head, I always thought it's like it doesn't matter what they do to me physically because in my brain, I'm always okay. Like I know, like I was always okay with anything because I'm like I'm happy. I like myself. Like there's nothing they can do that's gonna affect my mindset and like my brain and like the way I'm processing it. Like, yeah, it might suck physically. I'm away from my friends and family, but regardless, I'm still in a good mood because I'm happy. Like I'm still like grateful to just wake up. Like I'm happy to just be like I was always like I was never really like a negative person. So like it was just so funny to think like, wow, when I was like 15, I had that mindset. Like there's nothing you could do physically to phase me because I know regardless, I'm still gonna be like I'm taking the step to say I'm gonna be having a good day regardless where I'm at in life. Like I know, yeah, it sucks I'm away from my friends, but like I'm still okay with who I am. It was just so funny
yeah,
to think like, wow, that was such a long time ago. Like before, like I got so much more mature and stuff because I was obviously immature when I was a teenager. But it was funny to think like I vividly remember that like being 16 and thinking like doesn't matter what they do to me because I remember people saying like you didn't care you got arrested. I was like, no, I didn't really care that I got locked up because I knew it didn't really matter because I was like in the end of the day I always knew like I'm gonna be okay. Like I'm always in my brain. There's nothing I'm fine. It was just
yeah.
so funny to be like that's
Something that you couldn't necessarily control once it happened, which like could be a good or bad thing. But it's like
yeah,
X event happened, so like I can't really do anything about it. So like, there's no
exactly.
really, yeah. No, I've definitely can relate to that. I've gotten a lot better at that. That was like a big problem for me for a long time, which is kind of like the fear of the unknown or like what comes next or like
Yeah,
whatever. But whether it's a good thing or a bad thing or something indifferent, it's like a lot of stuff happens that like you don't really have control over.
yeah,
So it's
like
like
you
you can
can't control
think
it.
what could
Yeah,
happen or what could have happened or what you could have done or said or whatever, but it's not really there. And like if you can like I just try to do the best that I can and make the best decisions that I can. And then once I'm there, I'm kind of like, I can look back and just be like, like I kind
Yeah,
of
that's like
did
I
like,
think the expression. It's like one is like depression is living in the past, anxiety is living in the future, and it's like none of them you're living in the present. So it's like one either like if you're always looking about what's going to happen in the future and always like stressing about is it going to be okay in the future, it's like then you're not living in the present, and that might be getting distorted. Or if you're like in the past, you can't change it anyway. So it's like there's no reason to really get too caught up on that. Like you lived through it, you processed it, and then it's like okay, move on because living in that like you need to be living in the moment because in the past it's like you're just creating more issues for yourself that if you aren't just living there. It's a big one too.
yeah,
And I
you
have a
just
lot of
gotta take it.
like
It's present. The present
yeah.
time is like really what matters.
They say like
Yeah,
you suffer
the
more than
whole
not.
anxiety in the future thing, depression in the
Yeah,
past, that's like totally, it's totally a real thing like that.
yeah.
It's just how it really
Like one
works.
of the big philosophers, like you're in philosophy school, like school for philosophy, like that. I think it's Seneca who said like we suffer more in the imagination than we do in the than we do in real life. Because like we
Yeah,
create more situations in our head, like oh well, if this goes wrong, or if I get fired from my job tomorrow, like how am I going to feed my kids? But it's like nope, you're not getting fired. Like where you just made that up in your head. Like you're like a star employee, and you're thinking like what if I get fired tomorrow? What am I going to do? It's like, that's never going to happen. It's like why in your head are you telling yourself these scenarios and like you're getting yourself worked up for something like or like why is my girlfriend cheating on me? It's like she's not. She has no intention of cheating on you. But you're like
yeah,
oh well she didn't text me back in the last hour, so she might be
right.
doing
Yep,
this. And it's like
yep.
these are
Yeah,
just causing issues for yourself for no reason. And it's a funny thing, like, wow, we really do suffer more in the imagination than we do in the actual presence. You think about like how many things have you thought are going to go bad in your life that didn't actually go bad. So it's like I thought maybe my girlfriend did this, or I thought I was going to get her fired, and none of them came true. You were just like worked up for no reason. It's like that is crazy to think like way more problems are just on ourselves that we make for ourselves, like in our brain, that are actually coming in real life. Because if you think like broad picture, it's like yeah, well, that's been pretty good in the broad. Like I might have had some situation I would have liked to avoid it, but it's like in the grand scheme of it, it's like I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm healthy. Like I have a job, I have a family, so it's like, damn, I really do just make a lot of the shit up in my brain that I'm worried about.
yeah. Imagine if like you were just incapable of worrying, like
Yeah,
you would be happy
yeah,
pretty much
exactly,
all
yeah,
day.
exactly. Yeah, it is wild to think, but it is funny like to think like but you don't know that unless you know that. So unless you have that framework built into your brain, like, hey, listen, like try not to worry. Like you're building a lot of these issues up. Like because like I said, like them frameworks. Like when I catch myself thinking, like, damn, like what if I get fired? It's like, right, like you're not gonna get fired. Like you're the best guy at the work company. You don't do anything wrong. Like why would you think that? I'm like, yeah, you're right. Why the fuck am I thinking I'm gonna get fired? Like that's so stupid. I know I'm not gonna get fired. Why am I giving that energy? Then it's like, okay, I'm not. That's retarded. I'm not thinking that anymore. Then I just stop thinking about it. But it's funny, like, but if I didn't have that framework to think, like, hey, like, I'm just making these situations up in my head, I would like that go down that rabbit hole of like thinking about it and like letting that eat away at me. And it's like, who knows? Like, that could have spent 2 hours of negative energy on giving that life when it didn't need to be. And it's
Yeah,
like how much life is spent doing stuff like that.
that worrying and negative self talk and like the catastrophizing over like one little thing, it just like
Yeah,
tears you apart. Which I used to do like a fair amount of doing that almost every day. I kind of like. I mean, I still have done it, and like I'll catch myself doing it, and I'm just like,
yeah,
no, yeah, probably not, dog. Like I'll think about something, and be like, yeah, maybe, but like most likely not. So like let's just put that one
exactly,
on the
yeah,
back burner,
exactly.
and then it works out better. It was like, yeah, of course, like if your boss yells at you or something like that, and then you're like, fuck, dude, I might get fired, and then you're like, yeah, I mean, like I could, but
Yeah,
like I don't think so. So
it's like
like
I don't
let's
know,
just chill for a little bit, and then
yeah,
you don't get
and
fired, and
then
you're
also
just
like
like, whatever, all right.
that's like you giving stress and thing to the like obviously we know about like they're giving negative energy to the past but then it's like if you're like thinking I might get in the future it's like all right well that's not now so if that does come down in the road then it's like we'll deal with that when that comes up but let me not stress about it for the next 3 months and then I'm not even happening because if it happens in 3 months I do get fired okay in 3 months then I didn't spend the last 3 months stressing and regardless it's still gonna be the same outcome in 3 months I have to deal with it so why would I deal with it in the first 3 months leading up to it when I don't need to. That's a big thing. It's like just let life happen. Let me see. I got a couple more. You know what? A funny one I like to know, which is pretty cool, just like a good story. It's like, who
Hold
was
on, you
your
just
first kiss?
froze real bad.
What'd you say? Oh,
As soon
froze.
as you picked up your phone, yeah, you just started skipping real bad your audio.
Okay, is it
Your
back?
screen is working fine right now, but I don't hear your audio very well. I don't know
Okay,
why.
is it back now? I just seen the screen go weird.
Yeah, I see you moving on the screen, but the audio is just like chopped completely.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like
Maybe my phone's off.
it's all broken. I don't know why it went like that. Because your video's working fine, but
Yeah.
the audio is all choppy.
Is it still choppy now?
Yeah, it's still choppy.
Oh my god, what the hell's going on? Let me see if I move my computer a little bit. My phone, this is like still not. I'm good.
It's still choppy. I don't know.
Oh my god, we had a good run at it. What happened here?
Yeah,
Ugh.
I can only make out. I heard, "Oh my god," but that was it.
Mm. Let me see. Let me see. 1 second. Are you sure I'm gonna stop cancel? It's still not getting better.